never forget. Don't ever, mother.
Good evening, and welcome to the City of Wilmington's City Council business meeting. Today is December 3rd, 2020. This is the public comment portion of our meeting. People from the public can give comments regarding legislation that's on tonight's agenda or city business as a whole. You have approximately 3 minutes to give your comments, and to believe we have Mr. Dale Thomas that would like to bring comments this evening. Mr. Thomas?
Thank you very much, President Shabazz, and thank you everybody in attendance tonight. Not much to say tonight, just wanted to let you know that I'm here doing what I feel is my civic duty and as a resident of Wilmington. And just wanted to thank you for all that you continue to do. I know you put in a lot of hard work. So that's all I had to say for tonight, and I'll be here for the meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. There's a hand is raised from the Environmental Justice Health Alliance.
Oh yeah, sorry, thank you. And also sorry, I didn't realize I was automatically signed into that Zoom account. I was trying to type my name and district into the chat box, but it wouldn't let me. It says chat is disabled, but it also instructed me to say that in the chat box. So that's why I was raising my hand.
Okay. But this is the public comment.
I would like to make a public comment, but I don't want to jump other people in the line. I was just raising my hand since I couldn't type my name in the chat box.
Oh no, they're in the chat box in order to give public comments. When you sign up to give public comments?
Yeah, I wanted to, yes.
Okay, and you did that within the proper timing? I just want to make sure.
I thought so.
All right, well, go ahead. There's no one else. Mr. Thomas was the only comment, and so a public person to speak, so you can go ahead and give your comments.
Oh, okay, thank you. And I can't figure out how to rename myself in this version of Zoom. This is Stephanie Heron. I live in Council District 7. Oh, okay. I see in the chat. Sorry, I didn't realize sign up stops at 5:45. That was my fault. I live in Council District 7, and I just wanted to express my support for the resolution on the agenda tonight, number 4890, urging Governor Carney and the Delaware River Basin Commission not to approve the proposed export of liquefied natural gas from up in New Jersey down to be shipped on the river due to all the folks in Wilmington and the rest of the basin, but especially here in our city, that would be impacted by the potential for a spill or explosion involving natural gas. So just wanted to express my support for the resolution and thank you for introducing it and for allowing me to comment.
You're welcome. Well, that concludes our public comment portion of the meeting tonight. We will begin promptly at 6:30 with the legislative business agenda. So stay tuned for then. Thank you. Excuse me, everyone, but it seems as though there are individuals who've been trying to get into the public comment, and the link that was on the website is not linking them in. This is about the third phone call I've got regarding people still on hold waiting to get into the comment. And even there's a person that just got in who wanted to do comments. And because of the link that we had on the website did not give them the ability to be on.
Madam President,
Yes, sir.
it's only 6:09, so can't we accommodate them?
Yes, sir. That's what I was ready to say, that I was going to
Yeah.
give them the opportunity to give.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same, I was gonna say the same thing.
I got it. I got it. Yes, ma'am. Okay. So with that, Mr. Hanif Salam, whose hand is raised, and I will get the other person who's on the phone the right number. So Mr. Salam, please have the floor. Mr. Salam, if you will unmute your phone.
Am I unmuted now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Good evening, City Council members, and thank you for allowing me to share in this public comment on this evening. I just wanted to speak to the bill that's up for consideration and vote on the reparations. I hope that all council members will move forward with a yes vote. I think this is imperative and could be a vital resource for the African American community. And I like the way that it was worded, like just agreeing to do it now. All the details could get straightened out in the next legislative session. But please, let's just get this on the books now. Let's approve of this now. I ask that this is one way that council can begin to come together now on the way out and just show the people that we're first. It's not just myself. I speak up on the behalf of many in the 1st district and also in the 4th district in the Southbridge area where I was raised, who would love to see this happen, who would love to have some influence and be a part of the task force once it's formed. So I just hope that all council members that are present today will vote in favor of this bill and will push this forward and let us know, the residents, that this is important and that we could get the ball rolling now so that we'll be in good shape with formulating the task force in the next legislative session. Thank you for allowing me to share this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Salam. Is there anyone else that because I got a lot of people have just signed on. Is there anyone else that wanted to give public comments that did not have, could not get through?
Madam, now I wait to see if you call the names, because I just got a text from Nikita Gibbstown says she was trying to get in. Is she on there?
I do see her name.
Okay, no problem.
Ms. Fields? Unmute your phone, Ms. Fields.
She just said, can you see her name now? So.
I can see her name, but I see that she's muted.
Okay, no problem. Maybe the question was, can you see her name? I don't know if she was trying to say something. I'm just.
Please state your first. Yes. This is probably why we've not gotten money. Because they said they checked the number on the. Yeah, I had to type the whole thing in. Okay. If there's anyone else from the sound of my voice that's signed in the public comment, when we do, if you're calling to speak in reference to any piece of legislation on the agenda, There will be another opportunity for public comments to be given at the time that piece of legislation comes before the council. So I apologize for the technical difficulties. But it's good to know that that was the problem so that we could fix it for upcoming. Ernest? You raised your hand. Yeah, I don't see any of the icons for microphones or anything. I just see people's names and hands.
Hello?
Ernest,
Yes.
did you want to give comments?
Yes, I do.
You have the floor, sir.
Yeah, I wanted to second what the gentleman before spoke on. This is for the reparations bill. I think this is something that's extremely imperative as well, especially for us as a culture and people. All the things that we have, went through in this country, all the atrocities. And it's definitely a great opportunity for this council to come together to be able to show solidarity to push this through. It shouldn't matter whose name is on this at all. We should want to get this started and be in position for when this is coming through, like it just got passed in California. This is coming through the rest of this nation, and we need to be ready for that. So we need to go ahead and get that pushed through. So I don't want to go into all the history of the things that we've been through, the monies and the Freedmen Savings and Trust, all the monies that's been the seed money for all these industries and corporations that come from slavery, all the money that's owed. This is a debt that's owed. So we need to get this taken care of. Politics is literally legal extortion, and we don't have protection out here because we don't have money to pay into this game. And the reparations would be a great opportunity and a way to get that done. So we need to make sure we're in position for that.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thanks.
Was there anyone else? Total one phone call in.
Hey, Stokes.
Oh, there's a Miss Curly Purdy.
Meeting. I gotta go.
Curly Purdy.
Hello?
Yes, Curly
Yes,
Purdy.
Coralie Pride. I live in suburban Wilmington. I would like to speak briefly for the League of Women Voters of Delaware.
Yes, ma'am. You have the floor.
Yes, we are very concerned about this project. It has the ability to disrupt existing traffic on the river, whether it's traffic to the ports or the tourist business in the south. It can be dangerous because while accidents that occur with shipping liquid nitrogen are extremely rare, if an incident should happen, the results could be absolutely catastrophic. And I don't think we are prepared to meet such a catastrophe. We don't know how we would be financially reimbursed if such a catastrophe happened. So that's one reason. A second reason is even if everything goes well with this project, what it does is to encourage the extraction of natural gas from the Marcellus Shale. Natural gas, a lot of natural gas is leaked during transport of the gas and during extraction. And then when it's burned, it creates carbon dioxide. These both make it a major contributor to global warming. And this project just encourages the extraction of that gas, which is not being extracted now. And nobody is really looking that much for it because it's more expensive than what people get elsewhere. So this is going to cause more global warming and more sea level rise, which is going to affect those lower lying parts of Wilmington that are already having a lot of trouble with flooding at high tides and during rain. Third, the league objects to the way that this whole project has been handled and that there just hasn't been a good public notification. I know many people who really in the areas who would be infected are just finding out about it now and hopefully making it to this meeting. For all those reasons, then the League of Women Voters of Delaware opposes this project. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing. Was there anyone else who wanted to give comments? I can't see hands up. Okay. So it looks as though everyone who was having somewhat difficulties, except for the one that I'm trying to reach. We're seeing none. If there's anyone else that has comments regarding any piece of legislation, as I stated, there is an opportunity after each piece of legislation is put on the floor for discussion of council, you would get an opportunity to provide public comments at that time. So with that, I'm going to close this session of the public comments, and we will reconvene for the business section of the agenda promptly at 6:30. Thank you very much. And again, I apologize for the technical difficulties. Good evening and welcome to the business portion of the Wilmington City Council's meeting for this evening. I'd like the meeting would please come to order. We will have the opening prayer by Ms. Andrea Queen.
In humility, gratitude, and great joy, we open our hearts, our eyes, our ears, our minds as we meet to serve our city with the intent on doing good work, to use our resources wisely and well, to represent all members of our community fairly, to make decisions that promote the common good. We recognize our responsibilities to the past and the future, and the rights and needs of both individuals and community. May our efforts be blessed with insight, guided by understanding and wisdom. As trusted servants, we seek guidance on our deliberations. On our efforts, may we act wisely and well and strive to reach our higher potential.
At this time, we will recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The clerk will call the roll.
Councilwoman Gray.
You hear me?
No. Councilwoman
Present.
Gray.
Present. I don't know why you can't hear me.
Councilwoman Oliver.
Present.
Councilwoman Harley.
Present.
Councilman Turner.
Here.
Councilwoman McCoy.
Here.
Councilman Johnson.
Here.
Councilman Friel.
Here.
Councilman Adams.
Here.
Councilwoman Dixon.
Present.
Councilman Guy.
Present.
Councilwoman Walsh.
Here.
President Shabazz.
Here.
12 present.
No, I'm present. Can you hear me?
Yes, I counted you.
Oh,
Thank you.
Sorry.
Reading of the minutes of our previous meeting.
November 19, 2020, City Council met on virtual regular session. of the above
President,
date.
move the minutes be accepted as written.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. The minutes be accepted as written on the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carried. Committee reports.
Yes, Madam President, just one. November 12, 2020, President, members of Council, City of Wilmington, ladies and gentlemen, we, the Community Development and Urban Planning Committee, by virtual meeting tool was referred ordinance number 20049 entitled, an ordinance to approve the removal of a portion of Palmer's Road located between a new street and the northern boundary of tax parcel number 26-029.10 2022-124 from the official city map. Have given this ordinance careful study and recommend council vote on it accordingly. Respectfully submitted, those members present: Councilwoman Dixon, Councilwoman McCoy, Councilwoman Gray, Councilwoman Oliver, Councilman Turner, and absent President Shabazz.
Madam President, I move that the committee report be received, recorded, and filed.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Report be received, recorded, and filed. On the question? Although I do believe I was in attendance at that meeting.
This is the one from November 12th.
Okay, sorry, you're right. Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. City Treasurer's report.
December 3rd, 2020. Total investment, $422,746,913.90. Total cash on hand, $11,468,339.97. Grand total, $434,215,253.87. Belton Jones Potter, City Treasurer.
Move the treasurer's report be received, recorded, and filed, adopted by any vote.
Second.
It's been properly moved to second. Report be received, recorded, and filed. On the question? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Accept a motion to move to accept all non-legislative business.
So moved.
Second.
It's been properly moved to second, accept all non-legislative business. On the question? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. We had four resolutions of sympathy that we sent out to our constituencies, and we pray that they all received it, and we send our prayers to their families. There was no acknowledgement, non-legislative resolutions. With that, I'll go into the legislative business agenda. Councilmember Gray, legislation tonight.
President, I have a resolution to present.
Resolution 20078, Agenda 4890, whereas the former DuPont Repauno Works facility located on the Delaware River in Gibbstown, New Jersey, has been proposed as a major fuel export terminal site for the transfer of liquefied natural gas, LNG. And whereas
Move this resolution be received, recorded, and filed, and adopted by a yea and nay vote.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. The resolution be received, recorded, and filed, and adopted by a yea and nay vote. On the question? Councilwoman Gray.
Sorry. Yes, LNG stands for Liquefied Natural Gas. Our Governor Carney is a member of the Delaware River Basin Commission, and on December 12th, they're going to vote whether to allow LNG to be put onto ships at Gibbstown, which is in New Jersey. These ships will carry the LNG down the Delaware River, past our port, and within a mile or two of downtown Wilmington, out into the bay and to the ocean. It's being transported to Europe. We are not getting any benefit of this LNG. LNG is determined to be a very hazardous substance, and it can explode or catch fire. It's a gas, and it's being transported under minus 260 degrees to make the transportation less expensive and just less expensive. It gives a better, it's less expensive. So if they allow this to be loaded onto the ships at Gibbstown, it will pass past our port and past Wilmington, which is putting our citizens and our port into jeopardy. And I don't think that the risk greatly outweigh the benefit. In fact, there is no benefit to Delaware. So I'm asking the governor, I'm asking the council to vote that we petition the governor to vote no to allow liquefied natural gas to be loaded at Gibbstown, New Jersey. Thank you.
Okay. Are any other comments from members of council? See. Okay, I can't see whose hand it is. Councilmember Adams.
Yes, Madam President, thank you. I have difficulty with this resolution, as I do with any resolution where we can try to control the flow of commerce. That certainly is not our job. And there is certainly hazardous to everything that may be transported one way or another. And we have things transported every day on local highways, local streets, and everything else that could be hazardous to someone's health. In fact, if you don't look both ways, you might actually get hit by a car. So we're certainly not stopping all types of transportation in order because there's some type of hazardous. The movement of liquid natural gas has been for quite a while, and can be done very safely. I realize our former president last night said that Americans getting too used to big cars and cheap gasoline. Okay, but my personal opinion is I don't see anything wrong with the lower price of gasoline and being a producer of both gas, natural gas, and oil. I think it's great that the United States is now an exporter and not an importer. So no, I don't want to go back to the days where we're controlling everything in oil, that we can't produce anything and have to rely on others to do this. Hey, if New Jersey, or I think this is Gibbstown, has an opportunity to ship gas to Europe, I think that's a real good thing. Maybe we should build our own liquid natural gas resources here in Wilmington so we can ship it out also. So yes, I don't think it's our job to control commerce. This can certainly be done safely. There are other boards and entities overlooking this to make sure that it is done safely. And so I'm voting against this, and I would implore all my colleagues to do the same. Thank you, Madam President.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Councilman. I see no other comments from members of council, so I will go to the public. And I believe Surf Rider Chapters was the first hand that I saw. You're muted.
Okay, thank you, Madam President. My name's John Weber. I work for the Surf Rider Foundation. It's a coastal environmental group. And just want to comment on this really quickly. I do live in New Jersey, by the way. And yes, the councilwoman is correct. As a member of the Delaware River Basin Commission, your governor and 4 other governors will have an opportunity to vote on this facility. I want to point out that the law of the state of Delaware, the Delaware's Coastal Act, would not allow LNG on Delaware shores. So the councilman that just spoke, despite the fact that he wants to bring it there, your laws would not allow it. I imagine that Delaware decided a long time ago LNG is too dangerous and you did not want it as part of your port activities. And you're going to hear, you heard about the dangers of LNG. It is a very volatile liquid. If there was an accident, even, a mile away, that could be disastrous for your port and for your city. But the real danger with fossil fuels at this point, any fossil fuels, is even if we frack this gas out of the ground in Pennsylvania and got it into trucks in Pennsylvania and shipped it to this facility in New Jersey safely, and then safely loaded it onto ships and then safely shipped it down the Delaware River overseas, that is in fact the greatest danger of all. Meaning, at this point in our planet's climate, extracting fossil fuels and burning them is the danger. Of course, I'm speaking of climate change. That's what we need to avoid. If a facility like this is built, it locks us into another 20, 25 years of burning fossil fuels, and we obviously need to move away from that. Communities of color, places like Wilmington, are going to be more affected by climate change in terms of sea level rise and other effects. So we as a society don't need to lock in more fossil fuel burning for the next 25 years. So I'd encourage your council members to vote against this, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Dale Thomas.
Thank you very much, President Shabazz, and thank you very much, members of council, and to the gentleman who just spoke. I want to say thank you to Councilwoman Gray for being concerned about our health and safety. That's very thoughtful of you, and as a resident of Wilmington, it's greatly appreciated. However, I would like to add my support to what Councilman Adams said. I don't think that government should be interfering in commerce. I think we should allow the invisible hand of the free market to do as it sees fit. And there's certainly a trend towards more environmentally friendly energy. but we should allow the free market to do that. As the gentleman pointed out, it is illegal to bring LNG to our shores, and so this won't bring it to our shores. But the possible benefits are that we could give jobs to people here in Delaware at this location in New Jersey. We already have the refineries in Delaware City and in nearby Philadelphia. I don't see this as too much different, and I think it's could potentially be a good thing. Yes, there's risk involved, but as Councilman Adams says, there's always risk involved. So again, thank you very much for your time, and that's my 2 cents.
Thank you. There's no name on the next person other than a number of 302-384-4819. And if you would unmute your phone, you could have the floor for 3 minutes. Your phone is muted. 384-4819. Okay, I'm gonna go to the next person. Brian Moran.
Hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Madam President, and thank you to Councilwoman Gray for bringing this to the council's attention. I would like to state that I am opposed to this plant, although it is stated that yes, hazardous materials can be transported every day in a safe manner. This is a very volatile gas that has not been proven to be transported in the methods that they're looking to do by truck and by train to the site in New Jersey. But those are, New Jersey and Pennsylvania are fighting those efforts. For Wilmington, the channel is just a quarter mile offshore, roughly, from the marine terminal. And an accident of this material could have a catastrophic effect from anywhere from 1.5 miles to almost 10.5 miles, depending on which direction the clouds and the plumes would float. So just to kind of put that in perspective, within 3 miles of the marine terminal is everything east of I-95. So if there was a spill or an accident on one of these ships as it crossed near the marine terminal, the entire central business district, all those neighborhoods east of 95, including the Wilmington Hospital, all could be in danger. So this is something that is very volatile if an accident were to happen. One of the things that needs to be pointed out that most of these ports that transport the liquid natural gas are deep sea ports that are outside of residential areas because of this type of hazard. This way they're able to be loaded directly by a pipeline. The ships are then directly out to sea versus instead of going through residential areas, which line the entire eastern shore of Delaware. So because of these risks of the safety, and then also because of the environmental impacts to Delaware of the site, which go to the dredging for the dock in New Jersey, the impact to the sturgeon population, which is an endangered species, it's a protected species. We are in Delaware. New Jersey is north of us. Everything flows downriver. So any spills and pollutants that are leaked from New Jersey will impact the Delaware ecosystems in our environment. So I think all those things need to be considered, that although it is in New Jersey, this plant, it could have impact to Delaware residents while we gain no benefit. Thank you.
Thank you. Tracy Coluccio.
Hello, this is Tracy Carluccio. Thank you. I'm with Delaware Riverkeeper Network, and we have a lot of members in Delaware as well as throughout the Delaware River watershed. So I really appreciate being able to speak tonight. I'd like to just first address a couple things that Mr. Adams had brought up. The government is charged with protecting the public, and it's not just it's not interfering with commerce in order to protect the public. And the Delaware River Basin Commission, who's going to be making the decision, as Assemblywoman Gray said, is charged with protecting the environment, the water resources, and the communities of the Delaware River watershed. So that includes all of those aspects of our watershed that would be impacted by this project and the transportation of LNG from Gibbstown through the Delaware estuary and bay and out into the ocean. I'd like to make it really clear that this cargo, liquefied natural gas, is very different than anything else that's being shipped on the Delaware Bay today. No liquefied natural gas is being shipped on the Delaware Bay today. And one of the reasons is because the state of Delaware, as was brought up by both John and Brian, actually banned terminals to export or import LNG in the coastal zone of Delaware. And they did that. That was put into place many years ago and is in force today for, quote, environmental and public safety reasons. And if you look at the original documents about why they did that, it's because of the population density of the communities and the irreplaceable ecological resources all along your coastal zone. And Wilmington is Delaware's highest area of population density and already has a lot of ship traffic there. The Delaware, as well as the entire navigation channel, including Delaware's portion of the channel and the bay, is very crowded and active. And there was a federal report that came out that said that this type of activity should be kept away from populations and put more out into remote siting. That's why, as John said, most of these terminals are located on the coast of the ocean. So it does not have to travel as these ships would 80 miles, about 80 miles from Gibbstown. And that's only 6 miles north where the Gibbstown facility is from the Delaware state line, 80 miles all the way past residential and ecological and tourist important resources to the ocean. Why are they putting this way up the Delaware River in a narrow navigation channel that has to come within a quarter mile to 2 miles of Delaware's coastal zone? And I'd just like to also, I know I only have another minute here, but a very cold vapor cloud is released should there be a release from a ship. And it travels, according to the federal government, very quickly on water. It can move tens of miles on water very fast. It's so cold that it would actually rob the oxygen from the air, and anybody within a certain distance would immediately be asphyxiated, and severe freeze burns would happen for up to about a half mile. Also, if there were to be a pool fire or a fire that is ignited from perhaps an ignition, it only has to be a small switch, then that pool fire burns so hot it cannot be extinguished. And anybody within about 3,600 feet would blister in 5 seconds, and exposure for longer than that, 10 seconds, would cause death. So we're not talking about being able to evacuate people should there be a problem.
20 seconds.
We're talking about a release that would move very quickly across water and hit Wilmington in a matter of minutes. And people not only would be hurt, but a catastrophic loss could actually lead to the loss of life, as well as the destabilization of infrastructure. Thank you very much for your time. I'm sorry for going over.
Thank you for your comments. The number again at 383844819. I want to give you an opportunity to try it again. Your phone is still muted. Okay, I'm going to move on. We have 2 more before I also want to speak, and I'll come back to you for the last time. Environment and Justice, I believe that's Stephanie.
Yes, thank you. I apologize. I can't figure out how to rename myself in this Zoom. My name is Stephanie Heron. I'll be brief given the excellent comments that have been offered by the other speakers, but I just wanted to express my support for this resolution and my gratitude to Councilwoman Gray for introducing it, and just echo the comments of all the other speakers. I live in Council District 7 here in Wilmington, and this is a major concern to me for all the reasons the other speakers have mentioned, both from the perspective of the potential for catastrophic risk when we see that we already have enough risks of industrial incidents here in and around our city, as well as the chronic health risk of potential releases of gas into the air and the obvious climate change impacts. So thank you for the opportunity to comment.
Thank you. Mr. Don Farrell.
I'd like to say thank you very much Councilwoman Gray for bringing this to our attention. And I support what you're trying to do. Our governor has been reluctant to hold any public hearings or any opportunity for community input. Even the impacted, affected communities. I have a questions about what is. Is there an incident response plan in place in the event of an accident? I'd like to know if the city of Wilmington has the capacity to handle the number of potential injuries in the event of an accident. Will people's properties and businesses be insured in the event of an accident? Who is liable in the event of an accident? Who will pay any of the affected people, businesses, homes, or any other damage in the event of an accident? Have any of these questions been considered? Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. And again, thank you, Councilwoman Gray.
Thank you, Mr. Farrell. I'm again trying to allow the speaker at that number. Try pressing *6 to see if that unmutes you. There you go.
Thank you. Go ahead, Daddy.
Yes. Good evening, Council President. I appreciate this opportunity to comment on this most important issue in preparation for my opposition to this port expansion in the city of Wilmington, as well as the adverse impact this will have on our ecosystem. I think public engagement is the most important thing, to have the opportunity to go on the record to speak to this, which we have not had an opportunity heretofore. It's my understanding that members of City Council have attached their names to a letter from Mr. Kamoko Harris of the IOLA, saying that they're in support of this. We know that that letter is not binding, but on behalf of the citizens of Wilmington, we have filed a formal complaint.
Excuse me, Mr. Davis. Mr. Davis.
Hello?
Yes, sir. We're talking about the resolution. Councilwoman Gray is urging the governor for the River Basin Commission to not allow the liquid natural gas to be transported through our waterways. We're not talking about.
Yes, that's what I'm speaking to. I'm speaking to that in order to allow for the larger natural gas and the ships to access our waterways. There has to be dredging, and the dredging is a part of the expansion of the port of the city of Wilmington, which goes up to Edgemore. So I'm speaking to the issue at hand. And if we were given an opportunity to have a public discussion so that we could go on the record as it pertains to these issues, then it would not be so much confusion. But I just want to say there has to be a balance between the environmentalists and those that are attempting to protect the Delaware ecosystem. And I think, and I'm sure that what I have submitted as a proposal to DENREC, which is on the docket of the port expansion, speaks directly to that issue. Because, as Mr. Farrell said, no one has addressed the environmental liability that the city of Wilmington will be exposed to and no one has addressed the environmental liability that those living along the waterway are exposed to as well. So I would appreciate you, Madam President, giving us a date for a public hearing so that we can go on the record as to whether or not we oppose or support these issues, because they are inextricably related to one another. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let me see. It looks like there was one more person from the public. I can't seem to. Ms. Carly Pride.
Thank you. I spoke earlier before the meeting started. As long as my comments are on record, I won't repeat them. But I too would like to thank Councilwoman Gray for bringing this forward to the City Council on such short notice. We appreciate her involvement in this, and I appreciate having a chance to speak. Thank you again.
Thank you. Well, that concludes the comments from the public. We're back to members of council and Councilwoman Harley.
Thank you, Council President. I just wanted to commend Councilmember Gray for putting together this legislation as it relates to the risk that will be involved with it, this whole process and what they are trying to accomplish. And I would just like to be added as a co-sponsor. And I definitely support Mr. Davis in terms of how this is an opportunity for us to possibly have a larger discussion about some of these environmental risks that seems to be coming up quite a bit, that's associated with trying to get this other port up and running. And so, and as it relates to all these compliances, I guess that's the main thing. So again, I thank you, Councilmember Gray. And again, I would like to be added as a co-sponsor. Thank you.
Councilmember Adams.
Thank you, Madam President. I am not surprised about everybody jumping up and down about environmental, about safety risk and everything else. It seems that when anybody tries to improve anything or move something forward here in the state of Delaware, the city of Wilmington, everybody seems to be nostalgic for an era of, I guess, agrarian people and, horse and buggies here. So, hey, this stuff can be moved safely. We're wrong in the sense that we don't think we can move forward and do anything safely, whether it be toward the environment or anything else. And certainly, I'm sure that everybody who commented is driving electric cars and farming their own vegetables and tomatoes and everything. And if you are, please let me know where the fruit stand is. I'll stop by and buy some. But please, I'm sort of overwhelmed by the amount of negativity and jumping up and down whenever somebody tries to move something forward business-wise here. Maybe that's why, hey, we're so far behind here in the state of Delaware and the city of Wilmington. Please be reasonable. The gentleman said also talked about a balance. We have to balance these things, and certainly this stuff can be moved safely. And so there's no balance here. It's strictly a jumping up and down. And again, please let me know where the fruit and vegetable stand is. I'm more than happy to come by and buy your product that you are now going back to an agrarian nation. Thank you.
Councilwoman Oliver.
Thank you, Madam President. My councilman, he's always amusing to me at times. He's my friend. But I would just like to echo what some of other council members said. I'd like to thank Councilwoman Gray for bringing this piece of legislation to our attention. I'm very much involved with the environment, and I would like to be added as a co-sponsor. And I know Chris Coons is working a lot with this piece of legislation, and I think it's needed. I mean, I come from an area, as you, Council President, with the wetlands and the pollution and a lot of things we have been experiencing over Southbridge area most of our lives. So anything that's going to keep our environment clean throughout the whole Newcastle County or the state, I am on board. So kudos to Councilwoman Gray. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Johnson.
Yes, I definitely support this resolution. I appreciate Councilwoman Gray putting this on our table. This was an issue that actually I did not know existed until this got on the City Council agenda. And I do agree with my colleagues that as a city, we have to take a bigger role going forward in terms of environmental justice. And the good thing is hopefully we should have some help from Washington, D.C. Certainly, you know, we can make sure jobs are there and provide industry, but what's the point of industry and jobs if people are dead? So, you know, we have to be able to provide a safe environment, especially with all the cancer clusters we have. So I appreciate this and appreciate the public coming out to support this, and definitely look forward to more to come in terms of us speaking out on EJ issues. Thank you.
Councilmember Guy.
Yes, Madam President. As folks spoke on this issue, it took me back to Crota, and that's a business kind of right underneath the Delaware Memorial Bridge. And when they were put there, it was done in kind of a sneaky way, where some things were done in Dover totally contrary to the laws in Delaware. They were basically like given special favorite treatment. And then all heck broke loose one day, and all of the commerce up and down the East Coast was shut down for a short period of time because there was a chemical release. What we have to remember in Delaware is it is very important for us to kind of protect ourselves. I mean, we're kind of in the middle of all economic development. You can't move up and down the East Coast without passing through Delaware somewhere, either by turnpike or by the water, by train, rail, whatever. So we're in the middle of commerce, and we really don't get to break off many pieces to get financial benefit from everything that passes through Delaware. But I can see that this is really serious, because what we're concerned about is what people can leave in Delaware if something goes wrong. So we really don't, if I read this resolution correctly, I couldn't see anything in there that mentioned any benefits to Delaware. So folks basically just want to pass through, and if something blows up or goes wrong, well, Delaware, sorry, we just messed up your whole economy. So this isn't even something that we're transporting. Our workers, it doesn't sound like city, workers in this community even work there at all. Probably, I know there's a big national fight between ILA and AFL-CIO, because AFL-CIO is trying to take some of the ILA work with respect to shipping. Nate's position. I don't know if that relates to this at all, but that's one thing that is going on. But it does also, I also think it's important for Delawareans to notice that if you heard a lot of people speaking were from New Jersey. So there's the Delaware problem, but there's something else going on in New Jersey. And I get the sense that there's some people who live near that, what do you call it, Gibbstown facility, that there's some people that in that area who have a real problem with this in their neighborhood.
And they have a real problem with the 365 days a year of trucks traveling in their neighborhood. And so somehow they've found their way to get folks here in Delaware stirred up when they are directly the ones being knocked in the head by this. But we're all, you know, the citizens all get screwed together. It doesn't matter whether you're in New York, New Jersey, or Pennsylvania. And so I guess by them sounding the warning for us, it gives us a kind of a head start, because usually we're at the tail end last minute. So thanks, Councilwoman Gray, for getting this before us. And then just one other thing, this is the kind of problem we have when you don't have a judiciary committee with an environmental justice agenda. When governments don't have a place for that in their government, then these are things that should be discussed and should have been discussed on a regular basis, these types of issues. So again, you know, I recommend to legislative bodies, if you don't have a place for a civil rights agenda, environmental justice agenda, then the citizens just end up lucking up in this case by, I guess, the Jersey folks getting in touch with the councilwoman or some people here. But we could have been on the back end of all of this. Also, you know, I think I'll stop there. That's my point. And don't forget Crota.
Councilwoman Harley, is your hand up again?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, Council President. I just wanted to add one thing quickly, and that is that I wholeheartedly support commerce coming in and out, but I also think that safety should always be first. And so if we could balance the two, making sure our environment is safe while we are trying to build our commerce, that will be a perfect win-win. But when you have a corridor where there's already considered a cancer cluster, and this will be considered an accumulative environmental injustice, I just feel like, you know, we really have to think about safety over commerce sometimes. Thank you.
Councilwoman Walsh.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Councilmember Gray, for bringing this to our
Councilwoman Walsh, I can't hear you clearly.
Can you now?
Yes, that's good.
I wanted to thank Councilmember Gray for bringing this to our attention.
No, ma'am, we can't hear you. I'm sorry. Try it again.
Well, I'm not muted.
No, that's perfect. There you are now. Now we can hear you.
Now you can hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Okay,
thank you. I wanted to thank Councilmember Gray for bringing this to our attention. But listening to some of us speak tonight too, I just don't like when we pass these resolutions and then somewhat of a false story is presented to the public. The City of Wilmington is not going to do anything with this resolution other than to ask.
I can't hear.
Other than to ask our government,
We can't hear you, Councilman Walsh.
She keep it close to her mouth. Can't hear.
I don't know what to do.
Wherever you're doing this right now, we can hear you. So wherever you are speaking, however you're speaking, we can hear you now.
Okay, and I never took any ballet classes when I was younger. That's kind of how I'm looking right now. Okay, the bottom line is we are not doing much with this resolution other than asking our governor and the governors of 3 other states, along with the Army Corps of Engineers, I believe it is, to stop this. They're the ones who can stop it. We can't stop it.
Right.
We can certainly organize and have other people stop it. So for people listening to this, you don't have to sign on to the legislation. You don't have to do any of that. But if you're very concerned about the environment, get a hold of Governor Carney and tell him you want him to sign this. That's the bottom line. So with that in mind and with how difficult it is to hear me, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. We heard you. And clerk, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Gray.
Do I get to say, I want to make a final comment?
Councilwoman Gray, closing comments.
I just wanted to say that this LNG is no benefit to Delaware, to Wilmington, or anyone in our area. And also, according to the Army Corps of Engineers, there will be 360 trucks a day, 24/7, filling up these ships. And the ship will leave every 2 weeks. So there will be truck activity, which will probably be on 495 going to Gibbstown. And that's 360 trucks a day. And the activity will be 24 hours, 7 days a week. And I'd like to thank everyone in the public that commented. I appreciate that. And I appreciate you filling in some details that I didn't share. That's all, Madam President.
Clerk, call the roll, please.
Councilwoman Gray.
Yes.
Councilwoman Oliver.
Yes.
Councilwoman Harley.
Yes.
Councilman Turner.
Yes.
Councilwoman McCoy.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
Councilman Frio.
Yes.
Councilman Adams.
No.
Councilwoman Dixon.
Yes.
Councilman Guy.
Yes.
Councilwoman Walsh.
Yes.
President Shabazz.
Yes.
11 yeas and 1 nay.
Declared adopted. Councilwoman Oliver, legislation tonight.
Yes, Madam President. I have an ordinance to present and call for the third and final reading.
Ordinance 2049, Agenda 4868, an ordinance to approve the removal of a portion of Palmer's Road located between New Street and the northern boundary of tax parcel number 26029101124 from the official city map.
Madam President, I move this be known as the enacting clause of the ordinance and call for a yea and nay vote.
Second.
It's been properly moved to second, up and known as enacting clause of the ordinance to call for a yea and nay vote on the question.
Yes, Madam President. This ordinance is being presented by the administration for council's review of approval for removal of a portion of Palmer's Road located between New Street and the northern boundary and the tax partial number 26-029 from the official map. Delaware Power has been owning this property for this piece of partial for over 15 or so years. It does not, they do not cut off the transportation. I've been knocking on doors over there from Carter Street to Jessup Street to next door to the Hope Commission, and everyone's in favor of this area. Delaware Power will be in charge of it. As I stated before in the committee meeting, there has been a lot of prostitution and a lot of loitering and trash in the back of that building. So Delaware Power will be in charge of keeping this area clean, and it's a win-win situation for the whole community.
Seeing no other comments from members of council, is there any comments from the public? Seeing no comments from the public and no further comments from council, Councilwoman Oliver, any closing remarks?
No, Madam President, I'd just like to call for the roll call.
Clerk, please call for the roll.
Councilwoman Gray. Councilwoman Gray.
Is she muted?
Yes, she's muted.
Councilwoman Gray.
Yes.
Councilwoman Oliver.
Yes.
Councilwoman Harley.
Yes.
Councilman Turner.
Yes.
Councilwoman McCoy.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
Councilman Frio.
Yes.
Councilman Adams.
Yes.
Councilwoman Dixon.
Yes.
Councilman Guy.
Yes.
Councilwoman Walsh.
Yes.
President. I'm sorry, was that a yes?
Yes.
Thank you. President Shabazz.
Yes.
12 yeas.
Declared adopted. Thank you. Councilwoman Harley, legislation.
Yes, Council President, I have a resolution to present, agenda item number 4891.
Resolution 20079, Agenda 4891, whereas pursuant to Wilmington Charter Section 8205, the city may sell or exchange any real estate belonging to the city or grant any license, easement, right-of-way, or other interest over or in such real estate with authority by general ordinance and later resolution from council to do so.
I move this resolution to be received, recorded, and filed and adopted by a nay vote.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. The resolution be received, recorded, filed, and adopted by yea and nay vote. On the question.
Oh, yes, Council President. This resolution approves the disposition by lease of a portion of 615 South Church Street in Wilmington to Future Soccer Stars Foundation, who offers free soccer opportunities to our at-risk youth. They are currently using a number of locations and communities where our at-risk youth live, such as Kingswood, up on the West Center City, and a number of the communities where at-risk youth live. And this particular negotiation will allow this organization to construct 3 fields, a soccer field, lacrosse, and football, and continue to allow them to engage, this foundation to engage our at-risk youth, and also allow them to have their own playing field. It will also allow them to engage and participate in tournaments, and it will also position them, or at-risk youth to scholarship up to be able to be eligible for higher education around colleges and universities. It will also boost our economic engine, in addition to revenue generation, not only from the lease payments, but for our hotels, for our restaurants. And it will also be a great addition to the wetlands, to the South Bridge community, the South Wilmington community, and our field house, which offers plenty of parking for this particular area. So this is definitely a win-win for the community, or at-risk youth, as I said, our city, and the Future Soccer Stars Foundation. And I just want to also encourage my council colleagues to also engage the organizations in their districts to reach out to the at-risk youth in their districts to engage with this organization. Thank you.
Councilwoman Gray.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm very supportive of this, and I think it's a good idea and a good use of land that's currently not being used. But I think at the presentation of the committee meeting, we had asked for some information, or at least I asked for some information. I wanted to assure that the projected rental fee, leasing fee, was written into the contract. And I don't think we got that information about the final contract. Can Councilwoman Harley address that?
Well, I will respond, and then I can defer it over. To my understanding, there was a request for the conditions as it relates to the contract. Did you get a copy of the conditions from the law department from Betsy today?
Oh, then that's my fault. No, I did not see them today. I'll look over them, but I support this. I just wanted to find out if we had gotten that information. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilwoman Walsh.
I just wanted to congratulate Councilwoman Harley. This is a great, great win for the kids in our city. They've always been limited by the amount of fields that they can play on and where they can play at times. And with the new stadium over in the 2nd District, and with this going up, it's just a great win for our children. So congratulations to all involved.
Councilwoman Oliver.
Yes, I also wanted to congratulate Councilwoman Harley for this piece of, introducing this piece of legislation. Myself coming from the Southbridge area, and the youth over there will be able to have access to that field and the whole stadium, the whole 76ers stadium. And I did have a conversation with the councilwoman to try to make sure in certain areas of low income that they will be able, hopefully, reach out to some of the community centers. They will engage and make contact with the right people, because it's always been available, but some folks have to take the advantage and just make a phone call. So I'm just glad for this piece of legislation and for everybody in the public to see that the 76ers Stadium is open to everyone. Thank you.
Councilmember Adams.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I guess just to add a little levity to this, I could say it's an opportunity to teach the kids horseback riding, since we won't be driving them back and forth to the fields using here. But hey, I rode horses as a young kid, and that was a fun time. Now, as far as a serious comment, though, I would just like to make this suggestion. I believe this is the lease is being entered into, that the Director of Economic Development, Jeff Flynn, is leading this charge, which is a great use of fields, that they tighten up the section under permitted use, that if it is used for any other reason, that the lease will be renegotiated at that time. I just think it's wonderful that we have playing fields for the kids. Certainly we need that. It'd be great to see the kids outside instead of having their face in a video game. And this is a wonderful thing, and certainly a positive. But hey, it's in a prime piece of real estate that's currently not being used because it's considered wetlands. And I think that this is a great conversion. I just would like to see that section at least tighten up a little bit, so that, hey, 15 years from now, somebody's not trying to build some flex space warehouse or something on the facility. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Johnson.
Yes, I do also support this this lease. It's very important, and again, I think we make the best use of land in our city. We aren't able to annex at this point. Well, hopefully will change, sooner or later. But we are constrained by the land we have, and so we have to utilize it and make the most economical use of it. And this is a program not only serves Southbridge, but it serves the whole entire city. From what I know of the program, Steve and crew and the board do a great job of providing and giving back to the city. So we need to do more of these projects. It started with the field house, and hopefully we can spread some of that love to the west side as we build up, and we can really again keep our youth engaged and keep them in athletics. And I wasn't too good at soccer myself, but I know it's a popular sport with kids nowadays because they don't play football, they play soccer. So I'm glad to see anything that can keep the kids out there. So thank you very much, Councilwoman Harley.
Well, I would like to give comments and appreciation to Councilman Harley for sponsoring this legislation as well. How innovative could we be that we take property that is considered open space and somewhat undevelopable because it is a wetland, and turn it into something that is so vital and important as providing sports opportunity to our young people. We know that the providing sports and outlets of sports and the creative arts to our young people is desperately needed in the city of Wilmington. And so to have 2 more fields where more children can have the opportunity to rip and run and burn off energy, but learn, conflict resolution as well as teamwork and things of that nature that sports provides. I think we need to do as many of fields that we can in all parts of our community, so that we could address the epidemic that we're dealing with the trauma, as well as the pandemic. Our children get out, they smell the fresh air and feel the grass underneath their toes. So this is greatly a win-win at no cost to the city, and the city's making money off of it. I mean, how innovative and positive can that be? So definitely am supportive of this and glad to be a sponsor of it. Seeing no more comments from council. Councilman Oliver, is your hand up again? or was that, I didn't take your hand down?
No, I'd just like to be added as a co-sponsor.
Okay, there are no more comments from council. I will go to the public, and we have 3 individuals who have raised their hand. Mr. Dale Thomas.
Thank you very much, President Shabazz, and thank you, Council. I just wanted to say thank you to Councilwoman Harley for doing this, though it is my belief that the government, either local, state, or federal, should not be involved in economics at all. I know that the reality is that they're very much involved, and I also agree that this is very innovative. Speaking as president of the Wilmington Little League, I think it's fantastic that we've taken a piece of land that can be given back to the community for sports. And also, as President Shabazz pointed out, we can make money, the city can make money off of in a fair and equitable way, which doesn't increase taxes. So kudos to you, Councilwoman Harley, for this. I agree, it's a win-win. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Mr. Farrell.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. And I would like to also offer my congratulations for the use of this space. However,
Mr. Farrell, could you turn onto your television? You have 2 things on. So you can
yes. However, I do have a question. At the meeting on Monday, there was a question asked that was never answered. And the question was, will the fields be open to all? If we have youth that aren't part of the soccer or lacrosse or whatever the other field will be used and provided by the stadium, will it be available to other youth? And I ask that question because other areas of the city have recreation centers. We have Southbridge has a neighborhood house, Hilltop has LACC, and Hicks Anderson is over there. And there were quite a number of other recreation centers mentioned, Frame, but the East Side doesn't have one. Now, the YMCA was mentioned. However, East Side youth don't exclusively use the Y or have access to the Y, even though the Y is on the East Side. Doesn't mean that it's always available or accessible to East Side youth. So I'm just mentioning that we need a recreation center over on the East Side. And I'm going to say people settlement. We need to do something about that. So although I support this, my question is the league available to folks in the city that may be forming another league, not including lacrosse or soccer, but will they have availability and will it be accessible to them? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Javon Wesley.
Hello, thanks for giving me the time and opportunity to speak here. My name is Javon Wesley. I'm the Director of Operations for the 76ers Fieldhouse and BBG Sports. Having these fields is great for us. It's going to let us do a lot more with our surrounding community and get a lot more people involved. We've been kind of hampered with the limited field space, but now that we have more, we're really excited to get moving. So thank you guys for your support, and we look forward to continuing to do well by the city and the youth of Wilmington. Thanks.
Mr. Steve Cavalier.
Thank you, Madam President. Again, I want to echo Jay's words. I'm the executive director of Future Soccer Stars, and I just wanted to say thank you for all the support and helping us give kids a shot on goals. So we're really looking forward to this and helping as many kids as possible. So thank you, everyone, for your support.
Okay, there's no more comments from the public. Councilwoman Oliver.
Yes, Madam President. I'd just like to clear up a statement that Mr. Farrow had made about the YMCA. I want to make sure I'm stating this right. The YMCA has been available to all youth on the East Side, and they have done an excellent job. As a matter of fact, they were giving out free memberships for the last 2 years, and I knocked on all the doors along with Councilman Harley, and we had an extra 20, they gave us, I think, 30 free memberships. And we had an extra 10 or 15 that was not used, and there was no fault of the Ys or our diligence of knocking on doors. I just want to make a statement because he made it like the Y is not available to the youth, and that is not true. So I'm not going to put the Y, I'm not going to blame the director of the YMCA who works hard around there or the executive director. We knocked on doors. The bottom line, it's available to all youth. So if we knock on doors and the parents don't take advantage of it, but I don't want it to be out there like the Y is only just used for certain areas, a certain group of people. That is not true. And I'm stating that to say the 76ers is available to all the youth also. So I just wanted to put that on, make that note on the record. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Turner.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to, my council colleague, Councilman Johnson, spoke about that our youth aren't playing football as they once were. That's not accurate. You know, our youth still play football, and they actually travel all the way to Florida to play on those fields down in Florida, because we don't have multiple turf fields in one location that they can travel here. So I hope that in the near future that we will be able to give our kids access to play football on those fields, so then they don't have to travel all the way to Orlando. We can possibly bring one of those big events to Wilmington, Delaware, so our kids can have the exposure of having that event hosted in their city. So I did hear that we are doing a lacrosse field on there. So I know that lacrosse is also used on football fields. So I would like to know if we will be able to give access to our youth that use Eden Park, that they can use those fields to bring big events here on the football field.
Councilman Guy. Councilman Guy.
Yes, Madam President, a question was asked by Mr. Farrell, and I'm wondering, is there somebody either from the city who's signing the lease agreement, or somebody from, what's the name of it, Future Stars, who's also signing the agreement? What is the agreement with respect to the children of Wilmington who go by there Sunday night or Sunday afternoon and nobody's out there, and they go out there and decide, oh, let's go over there and throw the football around or kick the soccer ball around? Is it available to the children or their parents of Wilmington or not? What is the agreement? Is there somebody who could speak to that?
Councilman Harley, can you speak to that, or should we? Councilman Harley, would you like to speak to that, or do you want to direct it to who to answer that?
Well, I would just like to make a comment and then I will defer it. So first of all, the organization is currently holding these practices in brown and Black communities. That's first of all. Secondly, in everything that we do, we have to have decency and order, and we have to have compliances and rules and how something is going to be operated. So if someone wants to participate within the time frame that they have operating hours, from the conversation that I had with Steve, no one is going to be turned down. Absolutely no one is going to be turned down. from participating in any of these fields. So if it's during operating hours, the answer is yes, they will be able to participate. No one's being turned away. If it's outside of operating hours, it's just like any other entity or business that's not going to be allowed. If someone else has something else they want to add, the floor is open. Thank you, Council President.
You're welcome, Councilman Harlan. I believe you did answer the question, but there is the Director of Economic Development, Jeff Flynn, has raised his hand to provide response. Briefly, Mr. Flynn.
Hi, Madam President. Yes, good evening, members of City Council. The fields will be available for people to use when there's no organized camp or game being played. Folks can go on to the turf and use the fields, as Councilwoman Harley mentioned. This is how the field, the one existing field at the 76ers field house is operated, and it won't be too unlike the Little League fields at Brandywine Park or the soccer fields at Alapocus.
Thank you, Director Flynn.
Madam President, can I continue?
You had more to say?
Yes, that was just my first question.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, so now what was just stated, I'm assuming is going to be in the written lease agreement, not an unofficial side deal. And if what was just stated is what's in the agreement, then everybody out in the public, you need to listen to this and share it with your friends. Okay? Because what was just stated to me is really almost the most important, one of the most important parts of this whole deal. Because as I look at the deal, there's a piece of property that's open space that the City of Wilmington owns today. So that means it belongs to the people of Wilmington. And generally speaking, the people of Wilmington can go to our own parks normally. That's normally the case. So now that we're kind of quasi-privatizing this land and in a sense turning it over to a group of folks who get to control it, who can use it, how it's accessed, even though it's zoned open space, it's important that when it's not officially booked for something, that people can use it as a facility. Because that's kind of the theme throughout the city, whether it's on the east side with the park behind Howard, or whether it's out at Sally's. What's starting to happen is our open space is starting to be controlled by people other than the city. And the question always becomes, well, when is it available to the city? So that's important aspect, the important aspect. So that's why I wanted to know. I too like the recreation. I want to be clear. I like the recreational component of this. I played soccer, basketball, tennis. I taught those sports, refereed. So I understand the importance of sports and athletics and the development of young people. So from a recreational perspective, this is a good project. I have some concerns about other people not having an opportunity to know that this land was available. If other people had proposals, everybody else in the world got locked out. These are the inside private deals that give a government a bad name when all they had to do was put out an RFP, and the odds say the same people might have been one of the few people interested, and then everything's above board. But these private deals, they're not good for the city, and it's never good for other developers in and around the City of Wilmington to know that they can't do anything because it's a one developer town. So I don't like that aspect of it, but I do like the recreational aspect of it. That's all I have.
Councilman Walsh.
Thank you, Madam President. And who else steps up to the table? I would hate to see happening to this project what happened to the Sally's project, where kids were denied for 2 years a place to play improved sports because of the nonsense we just heard. And yes, this is a developer who has put $2 billion into this city. Many of it for recreational things for adults and children. And of course, because it's a win-win, let's make sure we criticize it. That's all I have to say without really getting angry over this. It's a good project. I think council members will. Yes.
Councilmember Turner.
Thank you, Madam President. I wasn't going to say anything, but Councilwoman Walsh spoke about the Sally's stadium. The Sally's stadium, when we first did the Sally's stadium, our kids weren't going to get the Eden Park completed. So it wasn't about just giving Sally's the stadium, but we also wanted Eden Park to be done for our kids to play. One of the things that I didn't hear in this agreement here is how many hours were going to be donated, like we said about with Sally's, how many hours are going to be donated to the youth football sports so they can benefit from these fields. We did hear if they wasn't being occupied during practice or a game that's already scheduled, we did hear that. So that means if they put a schedule out and for the next 3 years is booked, all those hours of operation are booked, then that means that no one can benefit from the fields because they're booked. What I would like to ask Economic Development Commissioner Jeff Flynn, are we going to write in how many hours are donated to our community in the city of Wilmington, specifically to the minority community, minority organizations, so we can make sure that it's solidified that they'll be able to utilize these fields.
I just would like to add some clarity because I thought in the presentation and in the communication by the councilwoman that it was stated that all of the participation would be done by reason that the field is so that the children in the neighborhood could have access, and that the cost, they were raising funds to be able to ensure that they could participate whether they had the money or not. So I don't see where it is alleged that there's going to be a push out of anybody not having the opportunity to participate in what they're bringing here. If you're talking about independent groups having access to the field, well, we also have that written into Salazie Adams field. So we do have space there. We also have the Eden Park field. So this is some programs that they're talking about. They're bringing in informing groups that where there might not be a group, or adding more groups, and they're recruiting and looking for children from the neighborhood to be able to participate. So I don't see where there's any alleged action to leave our children out. This is just completely giving our children pure access to 2 more fields free of a state-of-the-art field where it costs the city absolutely no money. So I just don't understand the direction of your questions that the people are imposing here. Just trying to keep it complete to what the language of the legislation states. I just wanted to get that clarity so that our public does not get confused about what is really happening here. Thank
you, Madam President. I still have my 5 minutes. You would just cut into my 5 minutes.
Well, I thought you were finished, which is why I started.
No, you're okay. So as far as clarity purposes, you're right. and I'm not disputing that. But I was just speaking of what Commissioner Flynn spoke about if it was occupied during the hours, that then they wouldn't be able to utilize it. So that's all I was saying.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Turner. Councilman Friel.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I just want to say, I think this is a great project. It's land that's not being used for anything else. It's basically unused, vacant land. The fact that they're willing to come in and invest and set up some fields, I think from the presentation at the committee meeting, there are thousands of young people being served, many of them from the City of Wilmington. I just don't see how we can go wrong with this kind of proposal, and it has my support 100%. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Hawley, I give you the last word, ma'am. Councilman Adams.
Madam President, you don't see my hand up?
I do, but you had your 2 turns, Councilwoman. I'm trying to get everybody else to turn. Then I come back. Councilman Adams.
Yes, Madam President. Yeah, this is a private organization willing to build 2 extra fields. So the pushback on this is actually surprising to me. However, since I've sat here on 4 years on council, I realize that when somebody brings a good deal to the table, everybody wants to add an additional cost to it where it becomes unbearable for someone. I mean, it just strikes me, whether it be a water company wanting to take on a contract and we hold them up for additional funds, whether it be somebody build a field, all of a sudden we got to put, the parks and recreation there. We somehow got to break this frame of mind that whenever somebody wants to do something for us, we have to add a cost to it, which raises the cost of the project to them. And more importantly, it pushes away other people that may want to help the city themselves. Okay, because if I know I want to go out and build a field and then all of a sudden I got to do 1,500 things to build a field for some kids, hey, perhaps I can't go that cost nor want to put that time in. And I just think that, I don't think disgraceful in this case is an understatement when we constantly get on top of people that are trying to do something positive for the kids. Now, other than the fact that the kids should be riding their horses to this field, other than having their parents drive them, I can't really see any additional comment on this. Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Councilman Johnson, then Councilwoman Hawley.
Yes, I just wanted to just again, I fully support this project, and I can't wait to see the lease because again, this is what future starts. This is not Bicini Pollen. This is a nonprofit, so I don't. Even though yes, Mr. Bicini sits on the board, this is not this is a separate nonprofit. So in step 2, again, how we approach things in the city. Again, we have to be nimble. We have to work, but I do disagree. I just have to say it, so it's not out there in the public that Mr. Adams, I think sentiments are somewhat dangerous, and I hope it doesn't get traction in the city because when projects come, we do need to make sure there's investment, there's a community benefit agreement, there's something in place that the community benefits. That's simple economics in every city, from New York to Philadelphia, LA. I mean, you do a project, something's got to happen. So to think that Wilmington, we're not supposed to get something, I think that's really is misleading. So I just wanted to state that going forward, Wilmington City Council on 108th, we're going to be looking to work with these providers to make sure that there's something that they grow with the community, because the community does better, that helps their profit margin at the end of the day. If you're not, near a struggling community, if you're an improved community, that helps everyone. Everyone's boat and tide rises. So I just wanted to put that on record. Again, I wholeheartedly support this. I hope every single council member is in agreement with this positive impact for our community.
Closing comments, Councilwoman Hawley.
Yes, Council President. For the record, for those that are in the public, I just want them to be aware that the Future Soccer Stars Foundation is already having practices at H. Fletcher Brown Boys and Girls Club, at the Clarence Frame Boys and Girls Club, at the LACC, Kingswood Community Center, Hilltop Lutheran Neighborhood House, the William Lewis Dual Language School, Servium Girls Academy, the Police Athletic League in Garfield Park. Okay, when you know about these particular organizations, the majority of these children are at risk. They're brown and Black youth that clearly allows us to see that this foundation is targeting at-risk youth and brown and Black children. So I don't know what more that they got to do or prove that this is their intention, this is their goal to continue and to raise the bar and have a home base for all of these 240 plus youth that they have already been serving that's at risk, and they want to add to that for us to be convinced that this is the population that they are targeting, to be able to upgrade them, to possibly even get scholarships to move on to colleges and universities. So I just want to say to my council members that they are already showing us and demonstrating that they're not trying to exclude brown and Black children. And lastly, I want to encourage every council member to go in your district, and if you want to round up some children, okay, do that. And Mr. Steve Leclerc, will be glad to give you his contact information and connect those children with him. So anyone in the community that is under the sound of my voice that wants to connect children, whether it's East Side, South Bridge, West Center City, or wherever these communities are, please gather the children, reach out to the foundation, and we will all work together to make sure these children get connected to the foundation. I would like for us to do the roll call, Council President.
Thank you. Clerk will call the roll, please.
Councilwoman Gray,
Yes.
Councilwoman Oliver,
Yes.
Councilwoman Harley,
Yes.
Councilman Turner,
Yes.
Councilwoman McCoy,
Yes.
Councilman Johnson,
Yes.
Councilman Friel,
Yes.
Councilman Adams,
Yes.
Councilwoman Dixon,
Yes.
Councilman Guy,
Yes.
Councilwoman Walsh,
Yes.
President Shabazz.
Yes.
12 yeas.
Declared adopted.
That's all I have, Council President.
Thank you. Any legislation tonight, Councilman Turner?
No legislation tonight, Madam President.
Any legislation tonight, Councilman McCoy?
Nothing tonight, Madam President.
Councilmember Johnson, legislation?
Yes, Madam President. I have a resolution to present on your behalf.
Resolution 20080, Agenda 4892, whereas City Council recognizes the fundamental and critical role of promoting human rights and addressing discrimination at the local level. And whereas City Council recognizes the
At this time, I move for the resolution to receive, recorded, and filed, and adopted by a yea nay vote.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Resolution may be received, recorded, or filed, adopted by yea nay vote on the question.
This resolution is a long time coming. It is this resolution will establish the City Council Task Force to develop a reparation proposals for African Americans, specifically in Wilmington. This is in order to research and look at the mitigating factors about the history of unjust treatment of African Americans in the city of Wilmington as it relates to city services. The task force is also established to conduct research on the totality of the racial environment in the city, related but not related to fair housing, economic, business development, and education. This is appropriate that this is coming at the end of 107, because its theme during the whole entire 107 has been, racial tension. We've had to deal with uprisings. We've had to deal with a increasing wealth gap. And this is meant to work to really level the playing field. And part of this task force will be the leading local organizations. So the National Conference for Community and Justice, the ACLU, the Urban League, and the NAACP. They'll also be, collaborating along with educational institutions, working with the city leadership to make sure we have a well-established task force. What this resolution does is it establishes that the city will be going forward with the task force. What this resolution does not do is not actually name the task force. So the current proposed slate would be 9 members of the community They will be volunteer, and they will be people who have experience in economic justice and fair housing. And so these people or these public members will be chosen by the 108th session. But we really need to get the wheels moving because time is of the essence, because we're going to need to start the process of finding out who exactly is appropriate to be on this board. This is again something that I think is a long time coming. Hats off to the prime sponsor, Council President Shabazz. She's led the effort in terms of the CDC research over the years, and she's led the effort on this task. This has been a culmination of over a year of research, looking at it and collaborating with similar cities across the country and looking at what they're doing, reaching out to federal stakeholders. I know Council President has done to find out what they're doing. So we need to be ready because times are changing. I believe reparations is something that is not, or for descendants of Africans is not something that is tucked away in the shadow. It's something that's now public, and it's something that's due. What that reparations looks like, it will come from the federal government and come from the states, but it is big. What we're talking about is investment in community services, investment in housing, maybe loan forgiveness. There's a whole host of different ideas that can level the playing field because of over 200 years of oppression. And for all of Wilmingtonians, a city that is 70% African Americans, this is very important. So we need to get this task force right. We need to work with our state stakeholders and let them know that we're ready, because the state stakeholders are ready for us to engage. And we need to find out what Wilmington residents need. And this should not be controversial. The only thing controversial I think about this is the timing. People say, well, why now? Why not wait? Again, we can't wait. Just like with police reform, we couldn't wait. Same thing with reparations, we can't wait. And if you look historically, Jewish descendants of Jews, from World War II were able to get reparations. Japanese Americans were able to get reparations. Africans have not gotten reparations yet. So this is something that's very not only personal to me. I'm a descendant, of slaves from Africa, but it's something that's personal to a lot of us in Wilmington. And I would really have to get this right. I hope my colleagues support this. I know there's, again, some questions about what the board will look like, the rules, all that. I get it. That's going to get fleshed out. We have time, but we need to make a statement that we're taking this serious in Wilmington, and we can't wait until February, March. Who knows what's going to happen then? COVID spiking, it may get put on the back burner. So we got to keep the pressure on while we're ready. And I think, again, hats off to Council President. This is something that she has led. And so we're going to continue to work with her, even, in her role, her next venture, but where her expertise that she's gained in this area. So I appreciate the work of not only Council President, but also our council staff for the research on this. And I'm ready to answer any questions that there may be about this.
Thank you, Councilman Johnson. I just would like to just share just a little comments also. When I first heard that there were other local cities that was passing legislation, such as Raleigh, North Carolina, Providence, Rhode Island, Asheville, North Carolina, and also Chicago, that have passed local municipal legislation that dealt with reparations. It just excited me to say that there's a movement happening and that we can make change and address this issue on a local level. The state of California has formed a statewide task force to address reparations in California. Senator Cory Booker and Sheila Jackson Lee, Representative Sheila Jackson Lee, are picking up the act in Congress. The Black Caucus, Delaware Black Caucus is working. I was excited when I was shared, the proposal of bringing this task force here to the city of Wilmington. And so it's now or never. We've been waiting 200 years to address this. It's going to take a lot of moving and a lot of work. So it's amazing that it's already kind of started generational conversation. The community is already geared up. They're excited about it. And so, with the city council forming, declaring and appointing the task force, it would give us the ability to, it's not necessarily needed by government to do this. The community can do it on their own and be prepared and just feed the information to us as government. But it just gives us, it gives us that extra level of authority and voice and leverage when it comes time to present the findings of the task force to our state legislators and also to our federal legislators. And we don't want to miss that honor. We don't want to be left in the trying to catch up with what's happening nationally, because this movement is going to come through quickly. We have our own, President-elect Biden, who also states that he wants to focus on the systemic racial issues that's been plaguing our country. So we, Delaware, have got to be ready. And so I hope that the council members, seeing from the research that I've sent to you, that you read, that you see the importance of us doing it now. And getting the ball rolling, the seed planted to address this historical movement that is so well deserved and been waiting for several years for the people of African descent here in Wilmington. Councilwoman Oliver.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I also would like to thank you for you and the CDC, the efforts of the CDC organization for working on this project. I've seen Mr. Booker, Cory Booker is very much involved with this. I see it on CNN and MSNBC. Right here locally, the NAACP is involved, the Urban League is involved, as you say, that the Delaware Black Caucus. And as you really made a good statement. We don't have to take charge. The community could take charge. And I know Brother Salah over the whole commission, they've also had a meeting about this. But I would hope, as B.B. Coker said, we as leaders in the 108 session should be involved and at the table. So we are chosen leaders, so we should be the ones directing this whole project. I think it should be under our leadership to show that we are involved and we are concerned. To me, it's symbolic. I don't see anything happening today or tomorrow, but as you said, President-elect Joe Biden is involved with this, and we are the first state, and we're here. So I think it's only right to get behind him and Mr. Booker, and just have a voice at the table. That's all I see being happen. And I'm looking forward to President-elect Trippy Congo to carry this out, which I know he's very interested in. But there again, thanks a lot and Wolfie, thanks a lot, President, for passing the torch. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Councilwoman Walsh.
I don't presume to be able to speak on this subject at all. The history I learned in high school and in grade school and in junior high was so skewed that none of the things that should have been taught to children in our nation has ever really been taught through history. So I'm very curious. I would like to know everything that absolutely happened during this era, and the effect that it has had on families for generation after generation after generation. So, and coming from an ethnic background where we didn't have to put up with 1/2 of what Black or brown people, even in our country, have had to, I just think it's about time that we had a national conversation about the whole subject. And so for that reason alone, I'm going to be supporting this.
Thank you, Councilman Walsh. I also just wanted to add one other thing, that the National Council of Mayors has even sent, this is the Conference of Mayors has even sent up legislation to the federal level, encouraging the attention and the addressing of reparations in their cities. So it's definitely not just here, but it is being seen by all levels of government, the importance of this action. Councilman Guy.
Yes, in legislative branches of government, because what happens is the public gets told information and they get all in a tizzy because people don't tell them all of the information. So I can imagine a whole bunch of people running around Wilmington saying, oh, we need to do this, we need to do this. And of course, it's always we need to do it now, unless it's something that doesn't need to be done now. And so we're in the last week of this session of City Council. And what the public doesn't understand normally is that legislative branches operate as sessions. So this council is not in a position to tell the next council what committees it must have. They're not in the, that's not how legislative branches work in America. You don't tell the 108th session, you must have this committee, and here's how the people are appointed to it. If you look in the last sentence, it even says something to the effect of that the only way you can get on this committee is by a vote of the whole council. Now, the city council rules right now say that nobody can be put on a committee unless the president appoints them to a committee. Furthermore, the court has ruled that pursuant to Rule 23, you can't pass a resolution that interferes with the authority of the president to appoint every member of a committee and who chairs every committee. So before, when the rules were being used to prevent input from all the rest of us members of council, now folks have a resolution that blatantly disregards the same Rule 23. So our rules are a function of how folks want them to be used. This here is saying a president, the city council gets to decide who's on this committee. And then once that's done, the president can appoint the chair. So that was the same legislation for personnel committee that they argued can't be done. So I just want to point that out because it's like talking out both sides of our mouths sometimes. So it's not about the idea. Everybody in the world knows that the idea of discussing how to deal with the wrong that took place needs to take place. If anything, what this might say is it may be a resolution from this council to the next one recommending that they consider doing this. But to actually say this is what they have to do, we can't tell the next. There's something called an organizational meeting. Every council organizes for itself. So we're not able to usurp the 108th decision-making authority. So it's like to me, it's like a small tweak. It's like, this is what's being recommended, given what this council has seen or heard, and it's bringing it attention to the next council as something to look into and consider doing. That's really all I'm going to say on that aspect of it. And I also kind of find it funny because this council, to me, more so than any council, that I've seen in a long time, we've been in the position to actually provide some reparations, to provide programs like apprenticeship program. Those are apprenticeship programs. You know why people have those? To give people opportunities. So part of reparations, if you're looking for how to give people opportunities, but we vote against apprenticeship programs because the same people, the same unions who have locked Black people out of building trade unions tell us not to do it, then how do we, deal with those kind of contradictions? most of you don't, there's all kind of lawsuits connected to Delaware where the building trades over the years in this region have been found guilty of discriminating against Black people with respect to joining the building trades. That's part of reparations, but we're not even willing to help people with apprenticeships. So I just, you gotta look at that stuff. In the city of Wilmington itself, if we was gonna do a study, we'd have a heck of a study if we studied all the things that the city of Wilmington itself and things that happen in Wilmington that have been done to oppress people of color in Wilmington, and write that up in a report. But then there's certain people whose toes would be stepped on that people have to answer to. So nobody don't want to tell the truth about what has been done here, okay? Why we don't have Chrysler and GM. Chrysler and GM were reasons why Black families made progress.
30 seconds, Mr. Guy.
Right, I'm gonna have my second 5 too. Those were reasons why Black families made progress. So there wasn't a big fight to save those unions that helped Black families make progress. So I'm just saying there's a whole lot to deal with reparations right here locally.
10 seconds.
Okay, well, I'll pick back up. You can go ahead.
Thank you. Well, as you stated that the public need to know all of the truth, you're absolutely correct, sir. And so let's share the truth that this legislation, along with the white papers and the research that the staff has done, was given to all members of council maybe a month to 45 days ago, and asked you for feedback and input of how we could do this. The first version of it, yes, said that it would be appointed by this president, approved by this council, but time did not allow all that to happen. So I compromised and took out that it would just be presented, that this council would still move forward because we don't have the time. We need to start organizing. Even if the council doesn't start organizing, the community can start pulling together and start having the conversation, which has happened. So I got nothing. I got one person who responded back to my email. I got one conversation because I called that council member. Nothing did I hear from anybody on how we could tweak this. The 107th session collectively could do this and be engaged in bringing about a task force comprised of many different entities within the city who's already doing the work. You're right, the unions, we need to attack the unions where there should be disparities. In education, all the different organizations that are out there, this bell alarm had to be sounded. And that's what this purpose, intention of this legislation is, to sound the alarm that we have got to come together, regardless of the so-called holidays, because a large portion of our community who are suffering from not having the reparations, not gonna have a holiday. So the urgency is that we're 200 years behind already. I personally, after hearing what was happening across the country, felt it was urgent that I sound the alarm, that we must pull together. However you want to word it, Councilman Guy, all I was doing is saying that I felt that this was something that we needed to do. Time doesn't allow this session to complete it. And that I urge, recommend, suggest, because it's just a resolution, that the next council continue on the effort of pulling together a task force and to addressing reparations here in Wilmington. That's all that I'm asking. Council Member Johnson, I
was next.
Yeah, Council Oliver, and then Councilman Harley.
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. I'd just like to, and I like to get my a couple more minutes after this also. I think it's sad that we are really debating this when you have 10 Black council members on this council floor about reparation. Like I said, it's symbolic. I really appreciate your work. If we don't do it, it's other organizations out there talking about doing it. I've received 3 emails, and I plan on being involved with the Urban League, in the Hope Commission, in the NAACP. So I told Mousy, please, whatever you want to do. So let them take the stand, and let them, run with the torch, but I appreciate you reaching out. And I just think it's sad that, with something as serious as this, that we have to go back and forth, back and forth. If it's not about the kids, it's always us arguing about something that's helping minority organizations. We're arguing about the kids. We're arguing about a field for kids. I don't care what color they are. If it's a 76ers field and it's something for kids of all youth and all colors to try to keep these kids off of dope, off of guns, whatever, it's something to help the kids. And we arguing about that. It's a wetland. It's a piece of land that's nobody using. But anything to my personal opinion, anything to, it's called fake news. And I'm sick of it. I'm glad this session is over. I hate to say it, Council President. I'm glad you're going to be gone. I'm looking forward to working with, President-elect Congo, because hopefully, and I bet you it'll be a whole nother conversation and a whole nother attitude. But I'm looking forward to some new energy, because a lot of this energy is unnecessary. And the people out there, they shouldn't have to go through this. And, they come on here to want to hear something positive. Little do the city is moving forward. I mean, I met with 3 people today, 2 from Philly, 1 from Baltimore, business people who are not asking the city for any money. Joe Biden is here. The city's going to move with or without us. And we're here arguing about reparation. That's symbolic. You think people are going to come in here and give us billions of dollars tomorrow? No, boy, Coy Booker, Abraham in Atlantic City, in Atlanta, she was just on TV talking about it last night. It's no secret. I mean, if you do it, you don't do it. I think that the language, just say, look, pass it on to the next session. Put that language in there. So it could be anything you do, you're going to be wrong. And I think it's sad as Black people, and I talked to Dwight Davis today, and I talked to several other people, it's sickening. I may not like everything you do, but it's called politics. You get over it. It's just too personal. And I think it's really sad that we have to go through this. And I'm going to wait for my last 5 minutes like everybody else.
Yes, ma'am.
I've had enough.
Councilman Harlan.
Yes, thank you, Council President. First of all, I truly want to, again, as it was shared in our committee meeting, commending you along with our staff to pull together the information that, has begun to buzz around the nation. Yeah, it's a buzz. And I definitely see the tremendous value, the merits of reparations, the study to determine the compensation for Wilmington and Delawareans. And I'm going to speak for myself. I've never doubted once or twice of the value or the merits of this topic and the importance of it. I believe it's the right thing to do, but there's another council in less than 45 days that can take this whole thing and just, can I finish? Okay, I just wanted to be clear on, we share the same sentiments of the value and the merits of reparation. There are new 108 council members that I feel as though deserve to make a decision as to if this is what they want to buy in to do. When we came on the 107 session, the 106 session decided what they wanted to throw over the fence to the 107. It got voted down because we did not want those recommendations that came from another council over to 107. So all I'm simply saying is that putting myself in the shoes of the 108th session, like I said, we voted down recommendations that came from 106. And I really feel as though that if 95% of what we're talking about is going to be executed through the 108 session, 95% of everything that we're talking about is going to be executed by the 108 session, why wouldn't we allow the 108 session to put through this recommendation through the task force? And I'm not disputing anything. I'm not discounting anything. I'm applauding all the work that has been done. I 100% fully support it. But what I don't support, and I'm going to stand on my own 10 toes, and I wanted to be on record, I value the topic. And there's nothing going to happen between tonight and when the 108 session gets started. Absolutely nothing. So when I look at what's going to happen from tonight to the 108 session getting started, we really haven't fully understood the fiscal impact. I know it's been said, he said, she said, they said, this person is going to do this person is going to do that, but we haven't had a commitment from no one. And that's not to say there hasn't been conversations discussed about this. And all I want to simply say is, in the spirit of unity, I support this topic, but I believe that the 4 new council members, several of them, I wanted to know where they were coming from, and they're okay with saying, put it all over here. Let us talk about it. Let us discuss it. Let us engage the people together if this is what they want to do. But again, I experienced legislation coming from the 106 session to the 107th, and I don't think it's right that we toss legislation over to another council when they can decide as a legislative body that they have been elected to do, to make that decision on their own. And I just want to say that in the spirit of what I'm saying it in, that the 95% is going to happen under the 108th. Why not allow them to decide on putting all this together, and we can work together, and hopefully everyone can participate who wants to participate, and we can move forward. So I did respond to your email when you sent it out. You had said earlier that you send out an email and no one responded. Pardon me?
You have 10 seconds.
Okay, but I wanted to make it clear that I did respond, and I responded saying the same thing. Thank you.
Councilwoman Gray.
I want to say that reparation is a very old subject and topic, very important. Goes all the way back to after slavery, when about 400 slaves were given their 40 acres and a mule. And then shortly after that, it was taken away from them. Ever since then, we've been discussing reparation. And I agree with everything everyone has said to support it. And I agree with those who don't support it. And unfortunately, in my opinion, as a legislator, I think the council that will have to take care of this problem, or have to research it, or have to be part of the task force, as a legislator going forth to that council, I have other priorities. This is a very important issue, but we could piggyback with Cory Booker and support him, or with our Dover legislators. But in the city of Wilmington, we have crime to deal with. We have housing problems. And I think those are more of a priority for the next session to work on than this task force that you're asking. And you've said repeatedly, you just wanted to plant the seed. You've planted the seed. If 108 decides to put it in the ground and watch it grow, then fine. But I think that we need to decide that because of the other things that I've just discussed that are going on in the city of Wilmington. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Guy, the Councilman Gray, Councilman Johnson, because you presented, I'm going to give you last words and then I'll make comments. But Councilman Guy is next, sir. Councilman Guy. Councilman Guy.
On this topic, I'm not going to repeat what I said before because it's on the tape. So anybody can twist and turn whatever they think I said, but if they go check the tape, they'll see exactly what I said. So I haven't told anybody whether I'm for or against this. I pointed out some things about this. But I want to address something because a statement was made that this is symbolic. And see, when you spent your whole adult life out on the battlefield trying to get justice and equality, and it's stated that, oh, this is just symbolic. Well, I got blood in the streets from it being just symbolic. It ain't just symbolic. Because we as Black elected officials in these seats, we're in the position to create solutions that are like reparations. And when Black people bring solutions to the table and other Black people cooperate in undermining solutions to help repair the hurting and broken Black people in this community, and there's too many. But the master calls in and tells the black people, don't do that, then what makes you think that you're going to get reparations? If that's the kind of organization that you that you create, that's subject to the master saying, no, don't do that. Don't touch that. Okay, so this is not a game to me. When I had a pardon program created, those are reparations programs. Everybody that has one now, they copied the one I had, the first one that paid for everything. That's doing reparations. That's what black elected officials can do, reparations. When I created the first educational advocate program, where there was a hired person to protect our children so that their right to due process was honored when they were going to be expelled, and we were saving kids every year. That's doing reparations. I don't do no symbolic kind of mess. When I put legislation on city council for a census complete count committee on city council that didn't get appointed, the reason why I put it in the code last time was so that if somebody came in who didn't want us to address the census, they couldn't stop city council because it was in the code. That's how you actually do reparations, by codifying things like that, not making it a resolution subject to which president wants to do it and which one doesn't. Okay, so I'm not for it. I could go on and on. Voting Rights Act. That's why for 30 some years, I've been a point man in this black community on how to get more black elected officials so that they could help to do things that were like reparations. So when I started in that game, there was one black state rep and one black senator and 3 state reps. From providing leadership on how the lines are drawn, we're now up to 3 senators and 9 state reps. So they're able to be on the battlefield to create programs for reparations. But you got to have a vision to understand what to build. So that mess about is symbolic. No, it's not symbolic to me, because every time you fight to try to get something for the black community, there's some sellout Negroes and there's the people who deal in racial oppression that stab you in the back end in the face. Okay. And I done went through about 4 years of that foolishness, and it's not symbolic. It's not symbolic to try to get apprenticeship programs for people who are hurting and want an opportunity. Okay. These things are not. It was not symbolic when I had to break the court system's butt and make them recognize that they discriminating against there being black judges and young kids getting to be black lawyers. The history shows all the work that I provided leadership in. That's reparations, because then you get 100 black lawyers in the community. Each one of you all got some black lawyer that's your personal friend that wasn't even in the legal community before. But I come to council meeting, I got a young black lawyer who didn't walk through the door that I broke and busted open to make it easier for him to walk through. And that person there helps to block me doing other things to help black people move forward. So I'm just gonna say, I'm gonna close it down because I could go through the list for the next week because it's all I've been doing for doggone 30 to 35 years. That's the primary thing. So it is not symbolic. And I just pointed out that y'all use Rule 23 and said, no, you can't do that. And also pointed out, like Councilwoman Harley said, we started off, the 106 council made all of us fight with each other for nothing. They passed a resolution before we came in to create a committee that was designed to make us get rid of half of us. And we saw that mess and said we didn't want to have nothing to do with it. And we voted to leave council alone. But what happened? The president went on and created the committee that the 106 wanted. And we had to fight each other before we ever had to be friends with each other about whether to get rid of half of us or keep all of us. Y'all forgot about that. So I just say to you, We don't need to be telling the next session what to do. And I think I said something to the effect of, if this was just saying, hey, this is something we're recommending that you guys look at, because they may all have their own plans of what their priorities are. Who are we to be telling them what their priority is going to be? What should tomorrow, next week, should I put up a piece of legislation saying that this council says that there should be a judiciary committee? If I pass a resolution like that next week? No, I don't have no business telling them what committees they have, and we don't either. But we could also say to them, this is important, something that we couldn't deal with, could y'all look at it? But don't tell the community that they will, because they might decide to do something else. They may be concerned about how Black people are treated right here in City Hall. What's the Civil Rights Commission doing?
Time, sir.
Thank you. That's all I have, Madam President.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes, I actually am diverging. I just had to address a few things because I was personally addressed in this. And all I have to say, Mr. Guy, is this type of rhetoric is what actually hurts our Black community. None of us controls the best ideas to uplift our community. In fact, it's a group of us that will decide. And the fact that you take credit for everything shows just, what you have to do. You should be able to stand on yourself as a man. The fact is, you're a trailblazer in your way, but I am also. Many programs I've implemented, implemented, the countless Black lawyers I've helped out. So don't take credit for everything. Be able to rest on your laurels and be humble, because we're in this together as Black people. So we all don't. There was Malcolm, there was Martin, there was Fred Hampton, there was other leaders, tons of leaders in the civil rights movement. Nobody had the dominance on how to do this. And this actually takes me back to the point in question, is why we're doing this. This reparations group is to devise a plan. We need a plan. I don't know what that plan is. I don't know. I can't say it. The folks in Dover don't know it. But we need a plan to get to Governor Carney, that can go to DC. Because we don't have a plan. We try to do things bit by bit, but no one has taken a high level view and said, what can help Black Americans less? Black Americans have 1/16 of the wealth of white families. Why is that? What kind of investments does it look like? I've heard things such as this, even one-time this infusion with, $100,000 for a Black family. That would make a difference, right? So there's a lot of things, but I don't know. And so we need to have all the experts in Wilmington around the table and do this. And I have to reject the idea of let's wait on it, let's do it. We do that too much here. And that has killed the 107th session. We want to kick the can down the road, but you got to put the time in and study. This is not something that just came overnight. This is something that's been a year plus of research. So let's move forward with that. And look, if the 108th, and actually, by the way, the 108th, 8 of those members were members of 107. So it's almost entirely members of the 107. So there's a few new members, yes, but it is a majority of returning members. So I just have to correct that for the record. And if we look at what we actually will do, if the 108th decides not to do the appointments, decides to not do this, then they can certainly do that. But we have to continue with the idea, because what happens is, first of all, because of the logistics of the rules, we have to then redraft a piece of legislation. It has to be reintroduced in committee in 2021. Then it has to get out of committee again. That whole process is going to take months and months and months, then the back and forth. We need to go forward with this idea. And again, this is something that should be uncontroversial. We can bicker about the timing, certainly, but this is something the city of Wilmington needs. And for us to delay it is honestly hurting the city of Wilmington, because what's going to happen is we need to get something on the table to Governor Carney. Do we know his plan to bring up Black Americans, Africans in Delaware? We don't know it. I don't know if he has one. So it's up to the city of Wilmington to give him one. Systemic injustice, educational justice, economic inequality. I don't think there is a comprehensive plan in Dover. So it's going to be up to Wilmington. It's on us. We have that burden of giving it to the state and working with the state to say, look, this is what we're going to need, not only for Wilmingtonians, but for Black Africans, Americans in Delaware, and just everyone who is below the poverty line. They can be Hispanic, they can be white, anyone. We need an economic justice package. So that is kind of my closing as to why we need this. And I will, of course, reserve comment. I understand there's a lot of friction about timing, but again, we can't let that get in the way of doing good. We can't let the perfect get in the way of the good. And so that's why we need to move forward. 108th has to have that attitude, and we need to get that and be together as people and not tear our own people apart. Thank you.
Thank you. So now I'm going to go to the public for comments for the public, and then it'll come back to members of council. And so beginning with Mr. Eugene Young. You're muted, sir.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you now.
Good evening, Council. My name is Eugene Young. I am with the Metropolitan Wilmington Urban League. In listening to certainly the comments being brought forth tonight, I've kind of even thought a little bit about my remarks. I believe reparations is by far the most important issue facing Black Americans in the city, in the state, and in this country. I also understand that, as an outsider, when it comes to this council, I am not quite sure of the internal politics that are attached to the bill, or like just the framework inside this council debate. I'm here as someone who just believes in the fact that reparations are at its greatest need right now. I believe that this goes back to 1619 till today. I ask you all, you can all go into, you could Google the article from Forbes magazine, September 11, 2017, which shows that the median wealth of the Black family would be 0 by 2053. There are professors all around this country that we've spoken with as the Urban League, and we've worked with that have been able to provide research, data, and also plans for moving forward in reparations. We've worked with Mercer Baradaran, a UC Irvine law professor, who's been able to showcase that since 1863, which was the year that Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863, Blacks had a total wealth of 5%. 150 years later, Blacks have 2% of the wealth of our nation. These issues that we see go back from everything from slavery to Councilwoman Gray brought up Special Order 15, to Red Line, to Jim Crow, carving out families out of the New Deal. What is very clear to me is that this is something that has impacted us all. It's impacted my family. And I look forward to, quite honestly, like after hearing the debate, I look forward to working with either, however this pans out, whatever the vote is. I just think I don't want to be in the middle of, I want to make sure that I'm here solely just to speak about the reparations package, and however that works, whether it would be this session that signs it or whether it's the next session that signs the legislation. But the Urban League is here to work with you. We are partners along in this process. We thank you for it. We also thank Congresswoman Lisa Blunt Rochester for HB 40, being a signer of it. And we also thank Senator Chris Coons for being a signer on SB 1038 on the federal side. So we thank them both. I just hope that our council is able to figure this out one way or another. However it goes, Urban League just wants to let you all know that we are a partner along in this process, however it chooses to work out. So I thank you all for your time, and I truly appreciate it. And we are here to answer any questions if you have any later on at a later time.
Thank you, Mr. Young. The next person is let me see, I lost my, Mr. Farrell was next, and then Ernest. Mr. Farrell.
I thank you very much. Madam President, I would like to ask you if I may share my mic, and after I do my 2 minutes, if Mr. Wilson can get on, because we are sharing a phone. Thank you. While I think this is a good idea, apparently, according to Miss Oliver, this is merely a symbolic gesture. Like the Citizen Review Board, apparently, if we're kicking the can down the road, if this doesn't pass, according to Mr. Johnson, then the Citizen Review Board falls into that same category. If I'd like to see the council expend as much energy as they're expending for this reparations as they would the Citizen Review Board. I think that we should, and the council should, focus on immediate problems like police brutality, economic injustice, and unequal sentencing laws that affect the Black community. And if you really want to offer reparations, then we should be addressing economic inequality. And you had an opportunity to do that, to create and pass that pre-apprenticeship program, something that has an immediate impact. I would like to see the council put as much energy, urgency, and thoughtfulness as they are into this, into the Citizen Review Board. Now, if you want the community to lead the charge, then put as much energy, urgency, and thoughtfulness into the Citizen Review Board. You say that we can't wait because Mr. Biden and Mr. Booker are in office and they want to address systemic racism. Let me say this, it doesn't start with reparations. It starts with police brutality, economic injustice, unequal sentencing.
30 seconds.
Folks don't want to waste their time on symbolic gestures, but real change. If you want the community to lead the charge and get them fired up to get involved, encourage them to participate and be involved in the Citizen Review Board and offer opportunities for immediate reparation, like pre-apprenticeship programs, fair, healthy, decent housing. This isn't dependent on Mr. Biden or
Farrell,
Senator Booker.
Your time,
but
sir.
You, the members of council.
Anymore.
Okay, here is
Well, you talked the
Mr.
whole
Wilson.
3 minutes, sir.
Thank you.
You talked the whole 3 minutes, Mr. Farrell. But I'll go to Mr. Ernest.
Point of order, Madam Chair.
And the point is?
The point of order is,
can you hear me?
In Wilmington, we got millionaires and we got poor people. Just because 2 people come on one phone doesn't allow you to limit both of them to share 5 minutes. That's 3 minutes. They each can have their own 3 minutes. That's
okay. Well, I will come back to him. There are other people who have had to raise their hand before him. I have his name listed, but there's other people before him, Mr. Guy.
I don't care what order. I'm just making sure you don't pull that.
Okay, but wait till I don't do it, then say something.
No, I'm gonna say something beforehand.
Point of order. Let her do her job, Mr. Guy.
No, she tried to cut him out.
Point of order, please. Everyone, please let me handle the meeting. Mr. Ernest,
Hello.
your turn.
Hello all, how are you?
Well, thank you.
I am a constituent in the city. I pay taxes, I vote. I was born and raised in this city. And I mean, this has been like more of the same, just like watching this tonight. It's like, it's crazy to me. And I mean, I just really hope that it could be some solidarity before this closes out. You know, I don't think that it should matter who name is on it. You know, I know that you guys are talking about a new session. but this session hasn't been ended yet. I really, appreciate the things that Mr. Johnson was saying. He was really talking about, inequality. You're talking about wealth gaps, things that really matter. And the fact that we sitting here, arguing about this and talking about this is like crazy to me. Like the majority of people on this panel was Black. And I mean, just the history and the things that's happened in this country, all the atrocities, this has been passed in California. It's about to crisscross the country. The best thing that we can do is be prepared and be ready for this when it comes to our state. Like he mentioned, when the governor is presented with an opportunity to talk about something, if he doesn't have anything in tow, then we can get left out. It's no time to keep pushing backwards and holding up time or whatever to get things done. Things need to be done. You know what I mean? I really want this narrative to be broken of like we're not really trying to do things or we haven't done anything in the past. I mean, since post-slavery, we had the Freeman Savings Bank, money in there. We had Black Wall Streets all over this country. Everything has been destroyed. All of these corporations out here, all of these industries, all got their seed money from free slavery, from free labor. So this is a debt that's owed. Like you mentioned, everybody else has been paid. The Jews been paid. Japanese been paid. Indians got reservations and land. We send Israel billions of dollars every year. It's tax dollars that we paying for. This is money that's owed. This stuff needs to be addressed. We need to be in position. And it doesn't make any sense to try to wait and, like you said, get behind the ball and we miss out on opportunities. This stuff needs to be pushed. You know what I mean? Just the time value of money from the things that we're talking about. When you talk about economics, this how you play this game. It's a shame that politics is a pay-to-play game. But the way this game is set up, if you don't have economics and you can't buy into this political system, then you don't have protection. That's why we out here getting slaughtered, because we don't have money in the system. Reparations will give us opportunity to be able to pay into a system that's corrupt already, it's extortion system. But we already know campaign finance comes through lobbyists, special interests, and super PACs. We don't have any money. Can y'all not see that? We need money. We cannot pay into a system and get protection if we don't have any funds, period. So as far as economics going down the board, we can open up a whole bunch of stuff. Like I said, we're not lazy people. This narrative has to be destroyed. We have done it time and time again, picked ourselves up by our bootstraps and been destroyed every second in every way. Like you talk about undermining people. I look at people that's been around for all these years, all these organizations that's been around, all these Black organizations. What have they been doing? It's like they've been selling us down the river or something. This year, we have people speaking up and things are really finally starting to move. So a lot of people are being exposed. It's time now. The time is now. So we need to go ahead and get this stuff done. I hope that you guys can come together with solidarity and get this done. Get it on the books. Figure out the kinks later. Let's get it on the books so we can get this moved. But we definitely don't want to be the state that's missing out on this opportunity when everything starts coming around. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Ally Shaw Watson.
Good evening. My name is Ally Shaw Watson, and I live in the 1st District. And I wrote something to say, but after listening to this meeting, I'm not even going to read it. I'm just going to speak from my heart. Okay, I listened to Councilman Guy break down the language of this resolution and the language of the rules and regulations of council, and how what Council President Shabazz is presenting goes against this, that, and the third, when all this language that he's breaking down, especially for the rules and regulations of council, was created by some white people, the exact white people that keep us in bondage today, which is why we need reparations. So I really don't care about that verbiage. And I think that as Black people, sometimes we got to step up and say, all right, we're going to do what we got to do to get what we got to get done. And so when that happens, we don't argue back and forth about a task force for reparations. We just say, we're going to vote to have a task force for reparations put forth through council in the next session. And as I understand it, if the next session doesn't want to do it, they don't have to do it. So there's still an option on the table for them to say, nope, we're not going to do it. So if that option is there, why is there still an argument or a conversation right now about whether or not we should propose for them to do it, when is there ever, or when is it ever a good idea to not propose for a task force to figure out reparations for Black people? When is that ever a good idea? I don't know when. I don't think it's now, and I don't think it ever will be a good time. So since they had the option to not do it if they don't want to, why don't we just vote now and say, okay, this is what we suggest, this is what we urge you all to do. And in regards to them making a decision on their own to do it without someone else urging them, and this is no disrespect to anyone that's on this line right now, but most of y'all are coming back for the 108th session. And I don't recall any of you ever coming up with anything about reparations in the past. So I don't really believe that you would do it in the future on your own. And that's not to say that you wouldn't, maybe you would, but you haven't. So why not take what's presented now and say, okay, this is pushing us in the right direction. When the next council session comes in, we do what we do. We make our own decisions. But to just sit here now, argue back and forth about it and nitpick this and say that, well, these people should make their own decision because they're their own council session, it's really a waste of breath. It's a waste of time. Black people need things now. And this task force is not going to get it done now, but at least it's going to ensure that there's movement made. And yes, when Biden gets in, when President-elect Biden gets in, he will look to us first because we're his home city. We need to have something to present to him because he does need the help. If you pay attention, he needs the help. He does not know what to do with the Black community. And if we have a task force and we can figure it out and we can present something to him, then that's what he'll look at. So I support the resolution. I respect everybody on this line, but I honestly think it's ridiculous that there's even a back and forth about it. Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you. Mr. Farrell, or Mr. Wilson speaking through Mr. Farrell's line.
Yes, thank you very much, Council President and City Council members. My name is Dion Wilson. I'm a taxpayer. Reparations is not new. I have in my hand a piece of paper that's written by the African American Reparations Association. There was a bill. There is a bill, HB 8965. This is 1970. So it's nothing new and there's nothing so urgent that has to be passed this week. Now, you want to know why I wasn't going to say this? The problem that we're having with this bill now in the city of Wilmington is the presenters of the bill. We have a presenter of the bill that has denied people their First Amendment rights. We have a presenter of the bill that for 4 years has done nothing along the lines of reparations. Now, yes, reparations means freedom, and it's a very serious thing. It's nothing to be taken lightly. Every time there is something before this committee, this city council committee, it has to be done right now. You never have time to think, to contemplate, or even to investigate. The thing for the children at the park is fine, but you better check the lease. 35 years is too long. You need 7 years, 5 years, 5 times, and you can go over it. 35 years for that property is too long, and I'll get off of that. This is about reparations. Reparations gives freedom to Black people in America. We have no inherited wealth. We all know that. But what we do for our reparations? We need true guidance, not a sellout. W. Du Bois, who everybody loves, was a sellout. He didn't want reparations. He wanted to be controlled. He wanted to be controlled by the government, the white supremacy government. Right now, there are people, just because our color is dark, don't make our hearts dark. There are people who are light-skinned, who have dark hearts. There are people who are white, who have dark hearts. It's not a question of color. It's a question of truth and righteousness. And we have to be truthful about this. The committee that's going to be the 108th, let them make their decisions, because they're the ones that are going to have to do the work. And they're the ones who are going to have to pick who they pick. But reparations, yes, it's serious, and we all should take it serious. In 1970, I don't have time to read this paper, but it's in there for money, families, and
Mr.
all
Wilson,
these things, Mr. Johnson.
your time is up, Mr. Wilson.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's just, I want to make sure I didn't overlook anyone because I one time thought I saw Mr. Henry Smith's hand. I didn't know if I'm looking again. Okay, and he's no longer there. Okay, so there's no other comments from members of council. I'll come back to members, from the public, I'll come back to members of council. Councilwoman Oliver.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm just going to call off some names. I want to say something in reference to what Councilman Guy stated, and I think my colleague Chris Johnson kind of mentioned it. As much as I respect my council member Guy, and he's been a mentor throughout the years, and a very good friend of mine. He's not the only Black person on council. And to keep saying me, I think he was involved with other council members as we are today. So I know he's done a lot of good things, but I think it was other people that was involved. And just to say me, but I want to say I'm just so glad I'm grounded that this position doesn't make me, because when this is over with, I'm still going to have friends, and politics that's what it is. It's politics. You can agree to disagree. So I see a lot of people take this just always so, I'm not going to say take it serious, but take it that, you start hating people that it just starts becoming to be disrespectful. And when I said symbolic, I was saying that we're not getting anything right now. So I was thinking that we was all more intelligent to think that I was saying this is just symbolic. Okay, it's a conversation, and so I thought we could read through the line, but however you want to read it, that's how you want to read it. That's you. But let me just say this. We have people such as Shirley Chisholm. I'm going to just call some names. We have Oprah Winfrey. I have Elijah Cunningham. We have Corey Bush, and these are Black members who have been involved with this reparation. It's not just us. This thing goes way back. And it's not just all Black people, but these are some names I'm calling. We have Connie Brown, we have Eleanor Norton, we have Lewis Redding, we have Lenny Williams, Theo Gregory, Herman Holloway Sr. Let me say this. I worked down Legislative Hall in the 80s as a page for Herman Holloway Sr. at Delaware State. My first voter registration drive was at Delaware State when he gave me a table and told me to go down there, and I registered 300 people. Okay, so you can't tell me nobody's Black. All of us have done, as Johnson said, in our own way. We have done a lot of things, and the movement wasn't just with Black people; it was also white people. Okay, but Betty Jones. And Jim Baker, Ted Blunt. Reparation is what it is. So, I like what the lady just said earlier. We're going back and forth. I'll be glad when you make the roll call and just let people vote as it is. And that's the end of it. That's my opinion, and that's all I have to say. But Madam President, the sooner you get to the roll call and let it be on the record that Xanthia Oliver is for reparation, and there's no doubt in my mind that we don't have a debate, and I understand some of the past, but I still believe as whoever came on there, I think they said it's because who presented it, and I think that was the best thing he said, because had you not presented it, if it had not come from you, and it's sad to say tonight, it really opened my eyes. I want to give you credit. I think as a female, and let me say this, Hanifa Shabazz, the first Black female president, and Vel, the first Black treasurer. Okay, so you're first Black. We can't take that away from you, but then look who voted you out, Black people. Talk about reparation. So because the city is 61%, let me talk, everybody else get their talking, it's 61% of Black people. So we can talk all this kumbaya and we do all these marches and all this, and I'm with all that because it's a cause and we should be fighting for what we're fighting for. But I'm telling you tonight, this is a prime example of all this arguing over reparation that goes back, as Mr. Eugene Young said, since we all know the 19th and 18th century, we're sitting up here. It's because who is presenting this. And I'm gonna say this. I'm not gonna stay on this call much longer because this is my sister's birthday, my oldest sister's birthday tonight, and they're throwing her a big surprise party. But I found it to be much more important to sit here and hear who's talking. I'm not saying nobody's against it, but it's tedious, and I'm glad that lady called in from the 1st District and she said what she said. We can critique it. Congo elect can always change it around. It's just that you presented it and you put it out there, and I really appreciate. And it wasn't your work; it was the CDC works with the people who did the research and what you want. You went to the LAC, and I'm just glad, and I love you so much, and I appreciate your leadership, even though a lot of people didn't, because you did the best you could do. You're a heck of a legislator. I thought you need to be in Dover or Washington anyway. This town is too small for you. And that's all I have to say. And I'm not going to talk anymore. Just in case Bud Phil gives me 3 more minutes, because I've had enough of this session right here. I can't wait for it to be over.
Okay, thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Walsh.
Yeah.
Councilwoman Walsh, you're muted.
Council President, I didn't have my hand up. The machine might have had its hand up, but I didn't put my hand up.
You did not have your hand up?
No.
Okay, sorry. Councilwoman Gray.
Thank you, Madam President. I know I'm expressing an unpopular view, but it's not because I don't believe in reparation and I don't see the importance of it, and to not correct, but to add some information to some of the public comments. Reparation does not necessarily mean money. It could mean community development. It could mean scholarships. There is no definition of that. But my thing is, my philosophy has always been take care of home first. And home is Wilmington and the 1st District. And sorry, I'm not trying to be really trite, but if you're dead, I don't think reparation is going to help you. So I think the council needs to focus on, with the police department, stopping the murders and the crime. And then housing is a problem, is going to be a much greater problem this winter when and if the COVID money runs out. So my only concern is that I think council has enough on its plate now. And if they find out going forward in the next session that we have the time and the staff and the people to work on reparation, when we can really just piggyback on Cory Booker or on our legislators in Dover. So it's not that I'm against reparation. I just don't think with the current condition of Wilmington that it's a good idea for this council. Thank you.
Councilwoman Harley.
Ooh-wee. I just want to say, again, in the spirit of unity, and I'm going to say even in love, because there is a lot of energy floating around and I'm not connected to it at all. The only thing I want to say is that I heard my council member say something about this is urgent right now and we got to do it. I get that, but from tonight until 108th gets started, absolutely nothing is going to take place with this resolution. And since Councilmember Johnson has decided to take it on to be the co-sponsor and take it on to the next council, then as soon as he gets it started, we can get started. So I'm just saying that in the spirit of responding, that no, it doesn't have to be 2 to 3 months that we pick this back up. As soon as Councilmember Johnson gets it started, we can come together and we can roll. But this is so not about me. I'm going to speak for myself, I'm not supporting reparations. I'm an African American. My family, we all have dealt with all of this. So please, for the record, don't make it seem like those of us that don't want to have the 107th speak for the entire 108th, like we're trying to not support it. I support reparations, and I would love to see how this is all going to come together. So I just wanted to be on record. I support it, but I support putting the whole package together, talk about how this is going to get paid, who's going to work on it. That just all needs to be one package. I'm sorry. And that's all I have to say. And thank you very much.
Councilman Turner.
Thank you, Madam President. First and foremost, I want to say that I want to be added as a co-sponsor to this legislation. I do support reparation. I do support us looking into that. Council President, You know, as a young lad, I was at your bookstore, reading about history that was plaguing our communities and our generations to pass. So I definitely understand the how much passion you have for this. You know, you definitely led me to read books, to know how important this is to our community. So for you to have this opportunity to implement this, I know this is something that's you know, I know Councilwoman Oliver used the word symbolic, but I know this is symbolic to you. So I definitely want to be added as a co-sponsor to this legislation. But with that being said, I do understand some of my colleagues' concerns about the 108th session. When you read this legislation, there are some areas that would raise concern for someone in the 108th session, because there are some restraints to this legislation. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to amend, and I would like to, at the first therefore paragraph, where it says shall appoint the 9, right where it says 9 and in parentheses, strike that out, and also strike out in that same sentence where it says, after the word, the first city council word, right after that where it says by city council's second meeting in February 2020-21, strike that out. Also in the next paragraph where it says the task force shall be composed of, striking out the word 9 and also 9 in parentheses. And that's all I have for the amendment. Can I get a second?
Second.
It's been moved and second to make the amendments as mentioned by Councilman Turner. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed signify by saying nay. Nay.
Nay.
Or is the council members not voting?
Can we get a voice vote?
Can you let me handle the meeting, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Madam President, could you read, could you read the amendment? I mean, my mic had went out. I couldn't hear the amendment. I mean,
Madam President, if you want me to share it again, I can.
please.
Could you share the amendments again?
All right, thank you, Madam President.
You identify the page number, please.
Yes, page 3, the first now therefore be it resolved. Right after the first parenthesis of task force, where it says consists of 9 members, striking out consists of 9 members, striking that out. Also, right after
So is he, now, Madam President, what is he putting in there? Strike out the 9, what are we putting in there?
the 108th session would decide if they want 19 members, they want 9 members, or they want 8 members.
Okay, I didn't know.
The 108th session would decide on the amount of members. We're just going to go ahead and vote on a task force to go to the 108th session. You guys would decide on how many members.
Okay.
And the date, I'm changing the date. I'm striking out the date. So you guys don't have to decide by February, because you might have some more important issues to think about in the first month of transition. So if I can continue with my amendment so it's clear for the clerk, that where the 9 members, striking out consisting of 9 members, also after that, the next sentence where it says the city council president of the 108th session of city council shall appoint, striking out the 9 members, strike out the 9, should appoint members. Then in that same sentence, striking out the words by City Council's second meeting of February 2021. The next further resolved, striking out 9 and then nine in parentheses. And that's all for my amendment. Can I get a second?
Second.
It's been moved and second that the amendments as spoken by Councilman Turner be made to the resolution. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Those not voting? Well, excuse me, nay.
President.
Can we get a voice vote, Madam President?
Please.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, can you call a voice vote, please?
Councilwoman, this is to vote for the amendment. Councilwoman Gray,
Yes.
Councilwoman Oliver,
Yes.
Oh, excuse me. We didn't do on the question. Vote.
You're already in the vote, Madam President.
You're already, yeah.
Yeah.
You're already in the vote.
this is to vote for the amendment. Councilwoman Gray said yes. Councilwoman Oliver,
Yes.
Councilwoman Harley,
Present.
Councilman Turner,
Yes.
Councilwoman McCoy,
Present.
Councilman Johnson,
Present.
Councilman Friel,
Yes.
Councilman Adams,
Present.
Councilwoman Dixon,
Yes.
Councilman Guy,
Yes.
Councilwoman Walsh, Councilwoman Walsh,
Yes.
President Shabazz.
No.
Seven yeas, 1 nay, and 4 present.
Okay, say that again, I'm sorry.
You have 7 yes,
Okay.
1 nay, and 4 present.
Declared adopted. The resolution as amended.
It's just the amendment part of it.
Amended. Just amendments to the resolution.
Right.
Yes. Madam President, did you also recognize me as a co-sponsor?
Yes.
Thank you, Madam President.
Well, you finished, Councilman Turner.
Yes, that's all I had, Madam President. Thank you.
Okay, Councilman Friel.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll be brief. I respect the opinions of those returning members to the 1/8 session, that they want to have, more discussion about this resolution. But in no way, when I announced I wasn't going to run for re-election, did I feel I was giving up my right to vote for and propose, whether it's ordinance or resolutions, right up to my last day. I mean, I should have that right also. If we're not going to vote on things, then maybe we shouldn't have been voting on leases and holidays and things like that, and deferred them to the next council. I kind of agree strongly with what Ms. Watson said. The next council will be able to pass their own resolutions. They will be able to change the code whenever they want, when they have a majority of votes. And we are by no means, I think, at least I am by no means speaking for the 108th session. I know that they'll do what they want to do, but I think it's still fair that we're allowed to vote and continue to work up until the last day, January 5th. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Walsh, is your hand up, ma'am? Or not? Councilwoman Walsh?
Yes.
Hand up?
No, my hand is not up. There's something wrong with
Okay. I didn't want to overlook you. Councilwoman Oliver, then Councilman Johnson.
you, Madam President. I'd like to thank Councilman Turner for that amendment. The bottom line is I'd like to echo off what Councilman Bud Frill said. We took an oath and we are still in office until January the 5th. So, you know, a lot of people think because the election's over, but it's not over until January the 5th. And I'd just like to thank all my colleagues for working diligently until January the 5th to, and I'm looking forward to working with the new upcoming members. But as Bud said, as Councilman Bud said, he's still in office. I still call and ask for his advice and everyone else. And I respect everybody. And I'm just so glad. And I would like to say it's been a pleasure to work with this council. I'm new and y'all have taught me a lot. Sam has taught me a lot. Turner has taught me a lot. Adams is a very good friend. Him, his wife, I really appreciate his different conversations and, you know, to open my eyes. Sometimes I think he's really far left, but he's, it's still politics and I don't take it personal. And I just like to thank everybody for their leadership and, you know, and how much y'all really mean a lot to me, even though I don't go to sleep with y'all at night. After this is over with, this is my conversation. Everybody else talks. And my 5 minutes up, it's over. Bye.
Thank you. Councilman Johnson.
Yes, I'm going to be brief. This is something where, again, this is a big issue. This is a very complex issue, and something I've always is just going by the motto and learned from, you know, wise words since I was a youth, that you never want to be the smartest person in the room. This is something where we're going to have people smarter than us, hopefully, being in the room. Folks like Eugene Young, folks like B.B. Coker, other leaders who we have an opportunity in Wilmington to shape something, because I don't know the answers, frankly. And this task force is comprised of the community, however many members it will be. It might be 9, it might be 15, but it's going to be members of the community who are experts in this field, because I respect experts and I respect science, and they know how to craft things. I know a lot about criminal justice, you know, but that's the area that I don't know about. But I don't know necessarily a lot about the housing issues, or, you know, how to set up community banks. And we're going to have those experts at the table to make it happen. So this isn't something that's going to take council staff time. This is going to be community empowered task force. This is not something where we're going to be staffing with council members. See, I think we're confusing it with the Citizen Oversight Board, because I've heard about that. I'm going to address that, because Citizen Oversight Board is a different issue. That's going to be a staffed and funded entity. It needs to be. But this is really a think tank that will be comprised of Wilmington and Delaware leaders to figure out what does a Delaware, I guess you get them what's called Black Plan. You know, what does that look like? Because I don't know. Some people say apprentice programs. Maybe that is, maybe that's not. I don't know. And this is what we need to figure out. So I definitely respect everyone who's weighed in. Thank you, Councilman Turner, for your wise input. You know, I look forward to engaging with you on this task force, because we need to get it right. And unfortunately, I think during the time that President Obama was in office, it was seismic in a way, but in a way it did not change our community the way we thought, because he couldn't do a lot of things just because of the makeup of Congress, possibly. He couldn't do the things that we thought he could do. Now we have an opportunity all these years later with our own President-elect Biden, and we will be the focus, not only of the country, but of the world. And so we can have model projects in Wilmington. And so the past is the past. We all will need to focus on this. And this involves criminal justice reform. It involves housing reform. It involves everything. And it could be direct payments. It could involve all of that. So that's what I just want to say in closing. I implore everyone to support this, and I look forward to working with everyone on this, putting smart people at the table, community, lived experience folks who are experts in the field, so we can get it right in Wilmington and have a playbook. Thank you.
And if I could just say a few closing words, I won't be long because the night has gotten long. I really thank everyone for your input and even the comments from our public. the reason I voted no for the amendments is because if we don't put timelines on things, because you're going to be busy when you come back in, then it can get pushed to the side. And I wanted to just share also that if you look at the whole reparation task force movement was happening, they're not talking about how to write a check and give people 40 acres in a mule. That's not the issue. We have numerous inequities and disparities that, exactly like you said, Councilwoman Gray, we got police reform, we got criminal justice reform, we got environmental justice, we got an educational issue, we got inequitable economic opportunities. Putting together a proposal to balance those out, to bring about some equity in those areas is what the reparations movement is all about. I was hoping that if you read the white papers that we sent through, you would see that that's what the effort that the task force would be to do. And it's already being done. We don't even have to look for the information. If you put all the different organizations together that's doing the ACLU, MLU, the State of Black America, Black Delaware was already done by the Urban League. We already know where the inequities are. We know there just was another report done. WEAC just did one on education. All we got to do is what my vision was. And from looking at best practices other places and what we need to do here in Wilmington, we're really ahead of the game because we have all those separate entities already having this information, was to put together a collective plan. So there is not much work that the council has to do other than to appoint and assign and give them the charge to do it. The work will be done by the task force so that the council can continue to do the rest of the things they're doing. So the reason I had the timelines in there was so that it would be on your agenda to get it done so it doesn't get pushed by the wayside because it is an urgent issue. But I appreciate the amendments. I respect the votes of my members of council. And with that, I pray that you see again that we have an opportunity that we must not let go by just because it wasn't your idea. With that, I ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilwoman Gray.
Present.
Councilman Oliver.
Yes.
Councilwoman Harley.
Yes.
Councilman Turner.
YES, yes.
Councilwoman McCoy.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
Councilman Friel.
Yes.
Councilman Adams.
No.
Councilwoman Dixon.
Yes.
Councilman Guy.
Yes.
Councilwoman Walsh.
Yes.
President Shabazz.
Yes.
10 yeas, 1 nay, and 1 present.
Madam President,
Declared adopted.
now, I was asking Mary Bell because my did Adams say no?
Yes. We now go, Councilman Friel.
I would like to make a motion to bypass petitions and communications
Second.
and adjourn the meeting.
Well, let me go to the other members to make sure there is no other legislation on the agenda. And there has been a motion to bypass petition communication. It's been seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? On the question, well, with that, it's been moved and seconded, and a majority vote has that we would bypass petition communication and that the meeting be adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good night.
Good night.